Saptarishis Astrology and I will be presenting how to improve our planetary karma with Jupiter, also known as Brihaspati. And there are many different names for the Jupiter, which carry many different karmas, and we'll be analyzing and looking at all of these in detail. One of the main titles that I like to recognize at this point is the Guru of the Devas, Guru Deva, the Lord of the gods or the teacher of the gods. This is a very beautiful term for Jupiter. As we look into how to improve our planetary karma with Jupiter, we're going to understand that deeply honoring our spiritual guides and teachers, which are our gurus, aligning to the inner guru, the guru within, embodying our highest moral and ethical potential, basically being the best person that we can be, and expanding our spiritual, mystical, and religious wisdom to improve our karma with Jupiter. I'm Kṣaṇāti. I'm from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania in the United States. And if you ever would like to contact me, this is some of my information, my website, email. I also have a Facebook page with astrology updates. So we're going to look at many different aspects of Jupiter karma, of Guru karma, and I've separated this webinar into 6 different parts. First, we're going to look at general Guru karma, okay? So what is Jupiter's karma as a planet, as a graha, and how does it influence us and our karma? Then we're going to look at the current transit of Guru, of Jupiter, which is in the sign of Libra, which is a very recent shift. And so we'll be looking at this in detail. Then we're going to go through all of the different signs, all of the different Rashi, and discuss how Jupiter relates to them, whether it is auspicious, whether it is inauspicious, and basically how Jupiter karma is going to manifest in different natal charts, depending on the dignity and the sign that Jupiter is traveling in. And then we're going to start to focus on remedy. Again, I think this is the most important part, is the remedy. So we're going to discuss how to improve the Jupiter karma. And we're going to improve that Jupiter karma using ancient methods. We're going to improve that Jupiter karma using contemporary lifestyle methods. And we're going to improve that Jupiter karma as well using Ayurvedic remedy or Ayurvedic methods of Jupiter karmic improvement. And then some different individuals from the community have sent some examples in. And we're going to look at some of those examples in detail. And I've already spent some time looking into these examples and analyzing these examples. And so we'll pull these people live into the webinar and we'll look at these questions together. So that, and then I have a celebrity example as well. And I won't tell you who that is just yet.
Wonderful.
Oh, and at some point, probably after the Guru karma and planetary dignity, we'll take a 5 to 10 minute intermission.
Yes, definitely.
Okay, so before we get started today, I would like to open with some Jupiter or Guru chanting. I'd like to honor this Jupiter vibration on this Jupiter day and really pull Jupiter into this webinar today, really pull that Jupiter energy into this moment that we're all sharing together. So here on the left, I have a well-designed Jupiter yantra, and on the right here, I have the traditional Jupiter mantra. And I'm gonna be performing the Jupiter mantra, and if you'd like, wherever you are, please join along. The word is here both in English, transliteration, and the Devanagari. So please join in if you would like to. Devinam cha risnam cha gurum kanchina shanibam buddhi bhutam triloksham tam namami bruhaspatim Devinam cha risnam cha gurum kanchina shanibam buddhi bhutam triloksham tam namami bruhaspatim Devinam cha risnam cha gurum kanchena shanibam buddhi bhutam triloksham tam namami bruhaspatim Om Gram Grim Graham Saha Guruve Namah Om Gram Grim Graham Saha Guruve Namah Om Gram Grim Graham Saha Guruve Namah Om Gram Grim Gram Sa Guruve Namah. Namaste, everyone. So I did a different mantra at the end, which was the tantric mantra, Om Gram Grim Gram Saha Guruve Namaha. Here, Om Aim Klim Hum Brihaspataye Namaha is the seed sound. So it's really up to your preference, but I tend to enjoy the tantric mantra. Can feel the kundalini of it.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay, so first, as we dive into Jupiter karma, we'll talk about some of the ancient rishi intuitions about Jupiter and how it affects our karma. The first is that the ancient rishis, they wrote that Jupiter activates and shows karma as relates to the husband. Okay, so just as we go further on, sometimes Jupiter karma has significations for the husband. Also, ancient rishi intuition promotes that Jupiter activates and shows karma as relates to children, fertility, offspring, and the karma we have with our children. Ancient rishi intuition suggests that Jupiter karma relates to one's teachers, gurus, and spiritual guides. This really has a strong guru vibration. And then the ancient rishis wrote and intuited that Jupiter karma relates to one's relationship to spirituality, mysticism, and religion. Now let's get more specific. Jupiter guru karma, which is a big aspect of Jupiter karma, has two manifestations, okay? Two manifestations of the guru. Guru is one word, but it's manifesting as two very different energies that have a relationship with each other, but are still very different vibrations. The first one is the title of Jupiter, which is simply guru. And then the second aspect of guru, which I'd like to look at, is Guru Deva. So here, when we're looking at Jupiter karma, we're separating guru and Guru Deva, saying these energies are related, but they're also different. Jupiter is called guru in Sanskrit, which refers to a metaphysical or spiritual energy which aligns us to the guru within. The guru within. Now, there is a guru out there, teachers, guides, etc. But one of these vibrations of guru is about the alignment to the own inner guru. Okay? A common misconception, this is strong in the West, is that when someone hears the term guru, they think that means that someone has reached a level of enlightenment already, or a level of liberation, or even moksha or samadhi. So sometimes there's a misconception. You hear the term guru, you think someone is enlightened already. But that's not necessarily what guru means. Guru, in its simplest understanding and translation, simply means teacher. Okay, so guru means teacher, and his embodiment, and a teacher is an embodiment of knowledge, wisdom, alignment to dharma, and our highest moral and ethical potential. And so we're talking about this vibration of teacher, which is strong within the Jupiter karma. Karma from guru aids us to reach our highest level of knowledge in this life. And so Jupiter karma is also connected to higher learning and our highest form of learning. But not only academic knowledge, but knowledge which is put into action and embodied. So in other words, knowledge which is integrated into our lives, knowledge which becomes part of who we are, not just knowledge which is information we have memorized, but something we have integrated into our lives, okay? And this action-oriented knowledge, okay, because it's part of our life, is the simplest way to understand what wisdom truly is. So basically, from a Jupiter karmic perspective, it's related to wisdom, okay? But wisdom is a big word. What does wisdom mean? It's knowledge that is put into action. It's knowledge that is integrated. It's knowledge that is embodied. Knowledge is not wisdom. Knowledge becomes wisdom once we embody it, okay? And so this is what I mean to Jupiter karma helps us to be wiser, which means it helps us to embody and live our life by our knowledge, okay, ultimately. Now, therefore, Jupiter, guru karma, helps us to learn and accomplish high levels of learning within society. And often, sometimes you find people with strong Jupiter karma in their chart, and they go to college, and they go to graduate school, and they go to the highest forms and institutions in their respective countries. But on a deeper level, the guru vibration is helping us to live our life in alignment with this knowledge. As I mentioned earlier, and embody it in all of our actions and our motives. In other words, we never forget the knowledge that we have because it's part of everything that we do. Now, when we truly begin to embody our knowledge in a complete way, when we are becoming wise and have fully integrated the knowledge of our lives, or at least are attempting to, it transforms into wisdom. And we become much more deeper aligned to our dharma and the guru within, or the inner guru. Okay, so while Jupiter guru karma does encourage learning in the highest sense from teachers and academic and advisors, both spiritual and non-spiritual. So it also has this embodiment that it encourages us learning from other teachers, from other gurus. But this is also an energy that is inside of us and is affecting us with Jupiter karma. It's when we embody that knowledge and apply it to our daily life. So everything that we've learned from various education, spiritual, non-spiritual, academic, non-academic, formal, non-formal, when we take all of that knowledge and we embody that knowledge in every single day, in every single action, that is when it truly becomes wisdom. And this is what Jupiter, this is what guru karma is helping to unlock this process inside of us. Now, also this guru is an embodiment of our highest potential and helps us align to our inner guru through alignment of our highest moral and ethical potential. Basically, this means that the guru vibration helps us to be the best person we can be in terms of the highest moral and ethical potential or possibility. So basically, we are not connected to our ultimate sattvic dharma, so the highest aspect of our dharma, unless we are living our life in full alignment with our highest moral and ethical potential. And so Jupiter is a planet of Dharma. And how does it help us manifest this Dharma? By aligning to our highest moral and ethical potential. In other words, until we're the best person that we can be in terms of morals, in terms of ethics, then our Dharma is still not at its highest potential. So we are not connected to the inner guru unless we are in alignment with this highest moral and ethical possibility. And so Jupiter karma works to bring us to this highest aspect of ourself by first coming to fully understand our wisdom as relates to right and wrong, good and bad, and the inherent truth of morals. So basically the Jupiter karma helps us understand what is right and what is wrong, what is good and what is bad, and what is something that is righteous and what is something that is foul. Okay? And as we come to fully understand this, this gives us a possibility to align to this potential. Now, after we completely learn, acquire, or remember this wisdom of our truth and our morals, and I like to mention remembering our wisdom here, okay? So especially people with strong Jupiter karma, let's say strong Jupiter planetary strength, or Jupiter is exalted in their chart, that every time we're born, we forget we forget the majority of our past lifetime wisdom and knowledge. It disappears from our consciousness. In other words, every time we're born again, we kind of forget the consciousness of our past life, which includes the knowledge, which includes the wisdom. Even though on a soul level, that wisdom and knowledge is still there, we're not conscious of it. We can't access it. But Jupiter karma is the wisdom from our past lifetime. It represents that when Jupiter karma is strong, we have a strong amount of past lifetime wisdom, which is like this highest moral and ethical potential and an embodiment of our inner guru. And so sometimes in this life, it's for the Jupiter karma is strong, it's not necessarily about learning something new, but about remembering what your soul already knows. So a remembering of your soul's truth, a remembering of your soul's understanding of right and wrong. In other words, do we learn right and wrong, or is it something that we know inside of us? Okay? And I believe when the Jupiter karma is really strong, it really shows that it's something that we know that's inside of us. Now, so we embody this highest moral and ethical potential, and that means that we can never go against it. So once we have an understanding of our highest moral and ethical potential, then we begin to embody it. And this is a transformation of Jupiter karma. This is a transformation of our inner guru. And then we can never go against what we know is right. Then we can never go against what we know is true. Okay, so basically, understanding what is right and wrong for Jupiter karma, it's just the first step. But then you can never go against what you know. And so usually the most malefic Jupiter karma in terms of the most challenging Jupiter karma is often related to individuals who go against what they know. Okay, which means they know that something is right. I mean, they know that something is wrong, but they still do it, which is worse than not knowing that it's wrong. That's why they say that ignorance is bliss. So there's this sense here that that Jupiter karma gets the most challenging when we go against what we already know is right, we go against what we already know is true. And this is the opposite of how to improve your planetary karma with Jupiter. So the worst thing that you can do for Jupiter, because of its guru karma, is go against what you know is true. Now, so this is an ultimate transformation of guru karma and our guru potential within as a complete embodiment and life of righteousness and truth. So basically, having an incredibly profoundly deep moral and ethical barometer and always living your life in alignment with that, never settling for anything less. This is the full alignment of the Jupiter guru karma. Now, not Guru Deva, guru karma, which is our highest moral and ethical potential, as well as this teacher aspect inside of ourselves. Now we'll get into the Guru Deva vibration, which is a completely different vibration of Jupiter karma. And this is the more spiritual. You know, often when people think of Jupiter karma, they think spirituality. They think of religion. But this whole aspect that we just talked about of Jupiter is outside of religion. It's outside of spirituality. It's just about being a good person, your highest moral and ethical potential, knowing what is right, knowing what is true, and never settling for less than that. In other words, people can have strong Jupiter karma and be atheist, because you don't have to believe in God in order to be a good person. And so I've seen charts with strong Jupiter karma where these people are really good, high moral and ethical people. And they just don't believe in God because to them it can't be proven. And so, but they're still, their Jupiter karma is positive. Still their Jupiter karma is strong because they're very good people and they never go against their moral and ethical belief. They know they stand in alignment with that. But the second aspect of Jupiter, which is Guru Deva, is a representation of Jupiter's religious, spiritual, ancient, and mystical wisdom. Now, Guru Deva, Jupiter, has complete knowledge and wisdom of all ancient spiritual or religious traditions. There is a great tale of Jupiter that got the title of Guru Deva because he pretty much saved the entire universe because the demons were consuming all of the offerings before they could reach the gods. The gods knew to consult Jupiter because Jupiter has this complete knowledge and wisdom of all spiritual and religious traditions. In other words, the gods might have only knowledge of a certain spectrum of religions, but Jupiter has complete and ancient knowledge. Okay, so they call on Guru Deva, and Guru Deva performs a mantra that basically eradicates these demons and saves the entire world. So this is a beautiful story. So this means Guru Deva has full knowledge and wisdom of all ancient texts. Okay, Jupiter karma is Guru Deva karma, which is full knowledge and wisdom of all ancient texts. This includes Hinduism, obviously, Taoism, Buddhism, Judaism, Christianity, Islam, Jainism, and all other religions or spiritual traditions. It includes Native American shamanism, South American shamanism, Siberian shamanism. Pretty much Jupiter knows all there is to know about anything. Spiritual, religious, mystical, shamanic, indigenous. Jupiter has complete wisdom of it all. So this is our potential with Jupiter karma as well, to have this complete wide spectrum of all the different religions, of all the different spiritualities, of all the different shamanic and ancient indigenous traditions. Like, there's this complete wisdom that is not focused. Now, it can focus itself on one religion because we're human beings. but Jupiter karma is knowledge of all religion. Now, Guru Deva has complete knowledge and wisdom of all of the spiritual, religious, oral traditions. And I talked about shamanism. So there are certain spiritual traditions that haven't been passed down through text. They've been passed down orally. And Jupiter also has the knowledge and wisdom of all of these oral traditions. So this is our potential too. Not just the text, but also these ancient oral traditions. Okay, so through this Guru Deva vibration, Jupiter karma manifests in a way which expands us into our greatest spiritual, mystical, and religious wisdom throughout our lifetimes. Guru Deva karma allows us to deepen our spiritual knowledge and embody and put into action this spiritual knowledge, which transforms that knowledge into wisdom. And this is what we call spiritual wisdom. In other words, spiritual wisdom is some type of spiritual knowledge that you are able to embody. So something that you learn through your study of religion or spirituality that you're able to integrate into your life and put into action into who you are. In other words, it's great to have spiritual knowledge, but if you can't integrate it into your daily life, then it's not spiritual wisdom. And so Jupiter karma also helps us integrate what we're looking into in terms of our spiritual investigations so that it may come wisdom. It is this transformation of spiritual, mystical, and religious knowledge into wisdom which allows us to align to our highest version of ourselves and another aspect of the guru within. Therefore, Jupiter karma expands this Guru Deva vibration within our soul's process, within our soul's evolution. And so the first aspect that we talked about is Jupiter karma helps us unlock the guru, which is the teacher, which is the moral and ethical potential, which is living our life in alignment with truth. And then this second vibration is the Guru Deva, which is our highest spiritual, religious, and mystical wisdom. And both of these aspects are two aspects of the guru, the inner guru. The inner guru in terms of being the best person we can be, and then the inner guru within our highest spiritual wisdom potential. So these are both equally important aspects of guru karma. And one is spiritual and religious, and the other is not. So I'd like to, again, just remind us that there is a large part of Jupiter karma which is not necessarily spiritual or religious. Jupiter is also called the Lord of Prayers, and this carries a very strong Jupiter karma as well, and is closely connected to the offering and answering of our prayers. When Jupiter saved the world, he allowed prayers that were being offered to be answered because the Asura demons, they were consuming these prayers. And so basically, this aspect of answering and offering prayers this is one of the most benefic, I think, or most auspicious vibrations of Jupiter karma. So this prayer answering karma or vibration of Jupiter is completely selfless. So the Lord of Prayers aspect of Jupiter is completely selfless. In other words, answering other people's prayers, forgetting about your own life, is a selfless vibration because you're answering prayers of others. You're answering the prayers of the nations. You're answering the prayers of humanity. This is a really selfless vibration. And it's also considered humanitarian and ethically and spiritually righteous vibration. In other words, this is pure white light vibration of Jupiter. Therefore, Jupiter karma assists us to expand into the highest aspect of ourselves, which is selfless, humanitarian, and righteous. And so basically, by this Lord of Prayer karma, Jupiter karma also helps us to be selfless. In other words, If Jupiter karma is really challenged in someone's chart, they may have a hard time being selfless. But if Jupiter karma very auspicious, very strong, these people are selfless in their nature. Okay? Like it is their essence to be selfless. Now, and everyone has a selfless aspect, and then Jupiter karma shows which of, in someone's chart, the house position of Jupiter and the dignity of Jupiter shows how the native is selfless, humanitarian, and where the righteous vibration goes in their life. So there's a real righteous vibration that is associated with Jupiter karma. So Jupiter karma expands us into the highest version of ourselves, which has complete faith and with humility offers prayers to the divine. So one of the things that Jupiter karma has as the Lord of prayers. So basically, what is a prayer? What is a prayer? A prayer is something that we say with our mouth or with our consciousness, we ask God for something, not necessarily for us, but we pray for something. We pray for peace. We pray for love. We pray for health. We pray for happiness. We pray for healing of the sick. We pray for the feeding of the hungry. We pray for the healing of the ill and the comfort of the aged. We pray for these things. But one of the deepest aspects of what prayer is that prayer only exists if we have faith. In other words, prayer is not possible without faith. And so Jupiter karma also represents our faith. Faith, what's faith? Faith is that we do not question God. Faith is that we do not question that there are powers that are greater than us, that are in greater control than us, and we are just little drops of sand in an ocean. This is the humility, which is to have no doubt that God is true and that God has dominion over everything. In other words, Jupiter karma represents our faith, our ability to completely believe in something without having scientific evidence, without having scientific proof. That's what Jupiter karma is. It's a spiritual wisdom that comes from the celestial realm. That's what the prayers are. They're a connection between the highest guru and God. So there's this vibration here that Jupiter karma also has us to become more of faith. And so if Jupiter karma is strong, these people have strong faith, which means they believe in God and their karma is unshakable. In other words, you cannot shake their belief in God. But sometimes people with Jupiter karma in a difficult place or inauspicious, low bala, it can show, I like to believe in God, but I doubt. I don't know. Sometimes these people, they're called agnostic. Agnostic mean I know that something is greater, but I don't know what. So I really like this faith aspect of Jupiter karma as well. And then another aspect of Jupiter karma is expansion into the highest version of ourselves, which will answer the prayers and needs of others. This is the selfless vibration of Jupiter, and it has a particular affinity for those in need and for those with challenges. So in terms of Jupiter vibration or karma, when it's really strong, it will answer the prayers of everyone, but it usually answers the prayers of those who need it first, instead of those who just want it. Okay? And so, yes, that need their prayers to be answered. And so because of righteousness, because of truth, because of moral, because of ethic. And so, therefore, Jupiter fights against inequality, because those that have inequality in their life, Jupiter will answer their prayers. Injustice. those who have injustices in our lives, like people who are charged with crime they never commit. Jupiter will answer the prayers of these people. Those who have inequality in their life, those who have injustice in their life, those who have unfairness in their life, lack of freedom, like refugees from other countries where there is war and they have to leave their country. Jupiter is there for those people. So Jupiter will answer all of the prayers, but it answers the prayers of those who need it most, which are those that have inequality, injustice, unfairness, and lack of freedom in their life. Okay, so moving on from the general Jupiter karma aspect and getting into some of the specific vibrations, Jupiter entered the Venus-ruled sign of Libra on September 12, 2017. So about 1 month ago, okay? And Jupiter will leave Libra on October 12, 2018. So in approximately 1 year. Okay, so we still have about a full year of this Jupiter and Libra vibration, which is affecting everybody. And those that have Jupiter in Libra in their natal chart, I want you to take special note of these vibrations because you are having Jupiter return. Okay, thanks. Now, Jupiter is considered to be in enemy relationship with Libra's ruler, which is Venus. In other words, Jupiter doesn't really care for Venus. Venus is the lord or the god of the Asuria. Okay, and while Jupiter is does not relate to these Asuria, he vanquished the Asuria. You know, so they're just not in that. They're both Brahmin caste. They're both Brahmin, but they are completely different type of Brahmin. Jupiter Brahmin is the Brahmin of like the celestial realm, the spiritual realm. Venus Brahmin is the Brahmin of earth, is the Brahmin of material realm. So due to this troubling relationship with Venus, Jupiter in Libra is not the most beneficial conjunction. Now, on the positive side of this alignment, it encourages balance in the spiritual or religious aspect of our lives, because Libra is a sign which is deeply associated with balance and harmony. And so one of the things that you'll find during this period is that people are trying to find balance in their spiritual religious aspect of our lives, which means if someone is too religious, too dogmatic, too extreme in their religion, then they will become more balanced. They will become less extreme. They will become less dogmatic. So this is a positive side of this vibration. And if someone only focuses on the spiritual part of their life and completely forget about enjoying the material part of their life, it will also help them find balance in that aspect of themselves. So they'll be able to enjoy more of the material aspect of life, like art, music, beauty, and maybe a romantic relationship. So these are some positive aspects that might come in. It supports an integration of spiritual experience into the beauty of life, which includes art, music, and entertainment. One of the ways that I like to describe this vibration of Jupiter in Libra is, and people who have Jupiter in Libra, they're already going to feel this, but everyone's going to be able to feel this at this time, which means some people, when they're at a concert, at a music concert, like you could say classic music, you could say a raga, like a healing raga, you could say kirtan, chant music, but you could even say rock and roll. You could even say hip hop. You could even say dance or electronic music, okay? It's not limited to any one specific type of music. It depends on the kind of person you are. But it's basically the idea that if you're at this concert and you're listening to the music, you can have a spiritual experience. In other words, music is spiritual. right? Music is inherently spiritual. It says in the Bible that we play music for God on harped instruments. So we play this music for God. There's this aspect that music is inherently divine. And so we're at a special time in this Jupiter Libra where we can see God in the music. We can feel God in the music. We can feel God in the art. We can feel God in the theater. We can feel God in the film. In other words, it's a time to bring spirituality and this feminine creativity, art, music, entertainment into conjunction with each other. And so on a positive side, you'll really be able to have spiritual experiences through art, music, and entertainment. And this conjunction in general also so go to lots of concerts during this period. This conjunction also encourages us to seek a harmonious disposition, which means basically to be like balanced person, harmonious, easygoing, nonchalant, laissez-faire, where you're just kind of like going with the flow, and and it encourages a harmonious disposition is how I put it. And so it balances the spiritual expansion into our highest selves, which we talked about with Jupiter, with a joyous celebration of life and all it has to offer. So basically, just by enjoying life, you can experience God. You can experience spirituality. You could say that when you're at a party and you're celebrating life and you're talking to your friend and you're having the most deep conversation about life and the meaning of life, this is a spiritual experience too. And so I think Jupiter in Libra will encourage a lot of these type of experiences. How does that sound, Madhuraji?
It is completely true, and even I'm experiencing the same.
Oh, good. Yeah. That's wonderful. Yeah, and so I hope everyone has good New Year planned. Good New Year's plans this year to have lots of good music. Now, let's talk about the challenging side of this vibration. We talked about the positives. On the challenging side, this conjunction can be quite indulgent in terms of Venus and Jupiter together. When they're relating to each other, it indulges in its pleasures. So you have to be careful of overindulgence at this time. Nonchalant or laissez-faire, which can either be positive or negative. We talked about a harmonious disposition, but nonchalant or laissez-faire means you might not care about things as much as you should. Like maybe you should care about that a little bit more, kind of thing. And then also it can encourage one to be extreme or dualistic in their spiritual understanding or manifestations at this time. Yeah, it can encourage us to be balanced or harmonious in this way. But for some people, that is just very hard karma in their chart. And when this Jupiter in Libra gets activated, then all of your confusion of your religion comes up. All of your confusion of your dogma and your superstition can come up. And so all of this vibration can make it also where one could get kind of extreme or dualistic in their spiritual or religious understanding. And so, as I mentioned, it can cause dogmatism. Dogmatism, which means I strongly believe what I believe, and I believe everything else is wrong. Okay, so Jupiter is righteous, but when the vibration is challenging, you're self-righteous, which is not positive. Now, zealousness, which is over-enthusiasm. It's like, don't be pushing your religion or spiritual beliefs on everyone else. And there's a vulnerability at this time. You know how it is, knocking on the door. Here's a pamphlet. And, you might have this happening more. So just make sure you have some cookies for the Jehovah's Witnesses. Disconnection from balance and reality. Because when we're extreme, it makes it hard to be in balance. So as you can see, if we're working on this vibration, we can really have this benefic manifestation of it. But if we have no awareness, it could kind of cause these more challenging vibrations. Okay, so moving on from the current transit of Jupiter, I want to look at Jupiter exaltation. Okay, Jupiter exaltation. Now, Jupiter is exalted in the moon-ruled sign of Cancer. Okay, and a lot of astrologers consider the Jupiter and the moon to have a okay or friendly relationship, but others consider it to be neutral or challenging. So there are varying opinions on how Jupiter and the moon, how they will relate to each other. But Jupiter is exalted in the sign of Cancer, which would suggest that Jupiter and the moon can relate quite well to each other. Now, I think it's good that Jupiter is there to teach the moon moral and ethical lessons. But I'm not sure the moon really cares to know. Now, when Jupiter enters the sign of Cancer, it encourages a highly auspicious and positive vibration of incredible expansion, illumination, deep sensitivity, caring, and devotion. Okay? So when Jupiter is exalted, it unlocks all of these vibrations, very strong with the individual. And it shows from a past life perspective, from a karmic past life perspective, this has been your soul's vibration for many lifetimes. In other words, you've been working on this as a soul, and you have a very high vibration of sensitivity, caring, and devotion. And you're seeking to embody your knowledge and become the best person that you can be. It encourages the most profound expansion, devotion, and growth in whichever area of life the exalted Jupiter is concentrated. In other words, if the Jupiter is exalted in the 10th house, this person will be extremely devoted to their career, and they will reach the highest level in expansion and growth in their career. So if they own some type of business, odds are that it will turn into a chain. Then they will own 10 of the business. Then they will own 50 of the business. So it doesn't necessarily, this next point I really like, I think is important with the exalted Jupiter, is that an exalted Jupiter is not a spiritual or religious combination. Nothing about exalted Jupiter is spiritual or religious. I have many clients who have exalted Jupiter, and they don't believe in religion. So what does that mean? Well, for example, if Jupiter is in the 10th house, it would show that their devotion and growth and expansion is related to their career. If it's Jupiter in the 2nd house, it shows that their devotion, growth, and expansion is into making money and also to the family. But there's a large vibration. For example, so it shows that vibration, and so it's not an inherently spiritual or religious combination, but rather indicative of the potential for growth and expansion and devotion in whichever house that Jupiter sits. So, for example, if exalted Jupiter is in the 12th house, yeah, that's spiritual. If exalted Jupiter is in the 8th house, in the 9th house, in the 5th house, yeah, we could say those are spiritual. But if exalted Jupiter is in 1st house, 2nd house, 4th house, 7th house, 10th house, 11th house, it is not necessarily spiritual religious. So again, just clarifying here that exalted Jupiter represents incredible expansion and devotion and growth and caring and support and the ability to follow through on things in a passionate way on whichever area of life it sits. But you have to look at the house position of the exalted Jupiter to really understand, is it manifesting in terms of which aim of life? Is the Jupiter exalted helping Dharma? Is the Jupiter exalted helping Artha, like if it was in the 2nd house or the 10th house? Is the Jupiter exalted helping karma, like if it was in the 7th house or the 11th house? So you have to understand strongly which area and aim of life the exalted Jupiter is affecting, but basically it's an incredible amount of expansion, growth, and devotion in which area of life that Jupiter exalted sits.
Yes, wonderful. Yeah.
Jupiter debilitation. Now, Jupiter is debilitated in the Saturn-ruled sign of Capricorn. Okay, so Jupiter and Saturn, somewhat of a challenging relationship there, although Jupiter can do okay in Aquarius, and we'll talk about that. But when Jupiter enters the sign of Capricorn, it manifests a highly challenging Jupiter karma. In other words, a debilitated Jupiter can be some of the most challenging Jupiter karma. To talk a little bit about what that means is that from a past lifetime perspective, there's a challenge with the Jupiter karma. And so one of the things that the debilitated Jupiter shows, one of the things that it shows is from a past life perspective is that the native was not able to live their life in the full alignment with their understanding of truth, with their understanding of good, with their understanding of right. So basically this means there was some past lifetime transgression perhaps of varying nature, and that transgression went against what you knew was right. So basically you did a very profound action in a past lifetime which you knew was wrong. This is one interpretation of a Jupiter debilitated. Jupiter would not be debilitated if you did something that you didn't know was wrong, but it was still wrong in its nature. It would be in an enemy dignity, maybe something like Libra, maybe something like Taurus, where there's a lack of true wisdom as far as right and wrong, and there needs to be maturity in that area. But when the Jupiter is strongly debilitated, you can really go against what you know is right. And it manifests a highly challenging Jupiter karma of adversity, delays, and challenges and obstacles on the path of our spiritual evolution and alignment to our highest self. Jupiter in Capricorn often manifests profound growth in wisdom, spirituality, and alignment to the guru within. And actually, those with Jupiter debilitated usually have this profound growth in wisdom throughout their life. In other words, there's a lot of energy, particularly if they're in Jupiter Mahadasha or Jupiter return, that is really going to cause a great amount of wisdom in their and growth in their lifetime. But in order to get through that level of growth, they have to go through challenges, enduring, persevering, and overcoming adversities, challenges, delays, and obstacles. So this person grows in their wisdom and spirituality, but only through adversity. Okay, so those that have a debilitated Jupiter, it's a representation of adversity. And when they overcome that adversity, they are unlocking the guru within. They are unlocking their spiritual evolution. They are unlocking their dharma. But adversity, when Jupiter is debilitated, is going to be a necessary part of the process.
Yes, very, very true.
This conjunction combines spiritual, guru, ethical, and religious vibration, which is Jupiter, with that of the mundane world, which includes politics, civil service, governmental jobs, and community organizations. And so there's a very strong vibration of Jupiter karma when it's debilitated, that your spiritual evolution is within society, is within politics, is within the community, is within civil service and being part of the community or being part of the government. And so, in other words, sometimes the church, sometimes we can think of Jupiter as a church or a temple or a synagogue or a mosque or a place of prayer. We can think of Jupiter as a church. And when Jupiter enters Capricorn and it becomes debilitated, that church, it enters a different spectrum. It enters politics. It enters the community. In other words, the inner workings of society and the communities become the church for the individual. So those with the debilitated Jupiter, they're usually very attracted to working either for the community or for politics or the government. Now, this connection shows one, Jupiter karma and spiritual evolution is greatly supported and aided through selfless energy towards the lowest caste, okay? Capricorn is associated with the lowest caste, and so this is more of a remedial measure, but it shows that one's wisdom, it shows that one's expansion, it shows that one's growth is connected towards this selfless vibration to those that have adversity and challenges in their life. Just like how those that have debilitated Jupiter, they have to go through adversity in their life to spiritually evolve and grow, then also that the greatest thing they can do is help other people with the similar karma that have to go through adversity, because Jupiter is selfless to those that need it. And so there's this vibration of putting selfless energy towards the old, orphans, homeless, drug addict, mentally challenged, physically handicapped, and sick. Very beneficial to improve Jupiter debilitation, to really help these people. Okay, so the first, we're going to talk about how Jupiter acts in all of the different signs, because everyone who's joining us and will be enjoying this webinar has Jupiter in different dignity, in different position. And it's very important to know how Jupiter, from a karmic perspective, manifests in the different sign, in the different Rashi. And so Jupiter has very auspicious dharma, dignity, in the Jupiter-ruled sign of Sagittarius. In other words, Jupiter has a very auspicious and benefic energy in Sagittarius. But I will say that it's quite intense. So we're talking about a favorable and benefic energy, but a very intense and a very powerful one. Okay? Now, when Jupiter enters the sign of Sagittarius, it encourages alignment to our highest self and inner guru, specifically through morality and ethics. So when we talked about Jupiter karma, we talked about guru, the highest potential of our moral and ethics, and we talked about Guru Deva, spiritual. When we're talking about Sagittarius vibration, we're talking more of the guru vibration. The moral and the ethical potential is more emphasized. It's more activated, that specific aspect of the Jupiter karma. Okay? And from a past lifetime perspective, those that have Jupiter and Sagittarius in their natal chart, their soul has moral and ethical integrity. So basically, the soul itself is ethical. The soul itself is moral. The soul itself is righteous. It's the kind of person who not only talks the talk, but they walk the walk. And they are an embodiment of their morals and ethics. And you can never get them to go against them. So the Jupiter and Sagittarius karma has profound moral integrity. Now, the conjunction supports karma that not only so talk the talk, as I mentioned, and walk the walk. This means they are able to embody this highest aspect of themselves, which is right versus wrong, good versus evil, truth versus falseness, morality and ethics, which means those that have Jupiter and Sagittarius, simply, they can't do anything wrong. They can't do anything evil. They can't do anything false or anything that goes against their morality and ethics. And odds are, if Jupiter's in Sagittarius, they're not going to. These people have profound moral and ethical integrity. And unless there's a malefic aspect or something, it cannot be shaken. Throw Rahu in there, though, sure. you know, with the Guru Chandal. Now, this conjunction has an elemental quality of fire influence to Jupiter. In other words, even though Jupiter is a Kapha planet, that Sagittarius is a Pitta sign. And so there is this aspect of Jupiter which has fire influence to it. This energy embodies a vibration of a karma of a spiritual warrior. So this person who, when fire joins with the spiritual aspect, there's a spiritual warrior that comes out. So there is an aspect of Jupiter karma, which is a spiritual warrior. And that spiritual warrior is embodied as the fiery aspect of Jupiter. This spiritual warrior is an embodiment of truth and promotes fairness, equality, freedom, and justice, fighting all those who stand in the way of these honorable principles. So basically, if there is any vibration in which there is a lack of fairness, a lack of freedom, or a lack of justice, Jupiter, when it's in Sagittarius, will really go against that vibration. There's an example I like to use to explain this vibration. Let's say there's a bunch of 12-year-olds, and they're all playing in a playground together. And then there's 2 or 3 bullies, and they start picking on this smaller person, and they start being mean and calling him names and pushing him around and stuff. Well, the person who has Jupiter in Sagittarius, they walk up and they say, pick on someone your own size. They say, what are you doing? This person did nothing to you. Why are you fighting with them? And this may cause them to get into some altercations themselves. So this can be somewhat troubling. But also, because Jupiter is wise, they'll probably go get the teacher too. And then those kids will get in a lot of trouble, and then justice is served. And so Jupiter in Sagittarius, it likes to serve justice on a plate. And it'll serve this justice to anyone who does injustices. And in other words, it kind of likes to be the bearer of justice-oriented karma. In other words, this Jupiter and Sagittarius, these people make great lawyers too. And judges and things like this. So Jupiter also has a very positive and auspicious dignity in the Jupiter-ruled sign of Pisces. Pisces representing the Guru Deva vibration, which is the real spiritual aspect. Now, when Jupiter enters the sign of Pisces, it encourages a very strong karma. So this is a very strong energy, and it's an inherited past lifetime gift, an inherited past lifetime reward. So those with Jupiter in Pisces, they have a very auspicious Jupiter karma from past lifetimes. Why? Because they have faith. Again, one of the things I mentioned about Jupiter is it's connected towards our faith. Those that have Jupiter in Pisces have profoundly strong faith. And just like how for those Jupiter in Sagittarius, their moral and ethical cannot be shaken, for the Jupiter in Pisces, their faith cannot be shaken. And so when Jupiter enters the sign of Pisces, it encourages the native to become a bridge, to become a channel between the physical realm and the celestial realm or the spiritual realm. So basically, there's a really potent vibration here when Jupiter enters Pisces that you're pretty much a bridge between 2 realms, the higher heavenly realm and the celestial realm, and the material realm. So you're pretty much in 2 places at the same time. And these people usually have really profound mystical nature to them. Now, and I like to say that this, how this could be described for those that have Jupiter in Pisces, a part of their soul, the Atma, is still in heaven, is still in the celestial realm. So there's this aspect here where this distinction can be understood, that while we're here, the Atma has reflected it as the Jiva Atma, the Jivatma. But when Pisces is in Jupiter karma, and sometimes with Pisces karma in general, a larger amount, a higher percentage of the Atma is still united with the Paramatma during the incarnation. In other words, our Atma travels from the Jivatma to the Paramatma. And while we're here on the physical earth, the majority of our Atma is with our Jivatma. But with the Pisces, it causes more of the Atma to still be with the Paramatma. So there's a sending down of like channeling of like higher wisdom and knowledge from a higher realm. So this is a very powerful vibration. And I hope that this understanding of the Atma, the Jivatma, and the Paramatma is a good way of understanding the Pisces in Jupiter karma.
Yes, really beautiful and to the point example.
Thank you, Madhuraji. So the Jupiter in Pisces karma supports the native to be a vessel, channel, or conduit. Okay, so these people are clairvoyant, they're vessels for ancient knowledge, they're vessels for ancient wisdom, they're channels, which means energies can work themselves through them, like certain spirits, and they can like summon spirits and things like that. Also conduits meaning they help bring they go from one place to another, and they're carrying that energy. So they are a vessel for the wisdom and light that's coming from the Paramatma. They're a channel for the wisdom from the Paramatma, from the celestial realm. And their connection to source, spirituality, sadhana, this connection to the divine, therefore their spiritual beliefs and their spiritual sadhana, which means their practice, and honoring their body as a temple is essential. So basically this is necessary to keep this karma as a bridge auspicious and positive. So just like how those with Jupiter and Sagittarius, we talked about a strong vibration, about how it fights for those in need. But because of that, sometimes they're going to get beat up too. In other words, they say, hey, don't pick up on someone your own size. And then those bullies say, okay, we're going to go pick on you then. Okay? We don't care about this. So in this vibration, the Pisces vibration is that if they don't focus, if they don't have awareness that they're a bridge, if they don't have awareness that they're a channel, and therefore not working on their spirituality, their spiritual practice, knowing that what they put in their body is important, and that honoring their body as a spiritual vessel, if they don't have awareness of that, if they don't align to it, then they are bound to abandon one side of the bridge or the other. Therefore, either declining the material aspect or declining the spiritual aspect. So if they don't focus on keeping that channel balanced and being an appropriate vessel for that energy, then they are no longer a bridge. Then they are either in the celestial realm, which means they're usually very disconnected from reality. They don't have jobs. They don't have careers. They're living completely outside of society in their own little world, kind of like in a la land. That's when the channel's not really kept intact properly. And then also they can just go to the material realm, which means forget the spiritual, which means they're losing their complete connection to God. I think this is the most painful possibility of the Jupiter and Pisces, is that they're so afraid to be bridged between two realms that they that they choose the lower bridge, that they choose the lower realm. And usually this is commonly done through drugs and alcohol. In other words, there's no better way to cut you off from God than being an alcoholic. And so usually these people can sometimes have vulnerabilities to get away, to escape from being the vessel, to escape from being the channel. And they can do this by polluting their mind and body.
Mm. Yes.
Now, but it's a very powerful positive vibration. But just like Jupiter in Sagittarius, Jupiter in Pisces also has this challenge of you really have to keep that channel pure.
Yes. True.
And those who have other planets in Pisces, this is significant for you as well. But we're talking about Jupiter in particular. But this is a vibration of Pisces.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Now we'll talk about how Jupiter acts in Mars signs. Okay, so Jupiter has very auspicious dignity and karma in the Mars-ruled signs of Aries and Scorpio. So as far as an understanding goes, Jupiter acts very favorably in Aries and Scorpio. This is because Jupiter has a great friendship with Mars. I like to think of Jupiter as best friends with Mars. And Jupiter karma can be very benefic and favorable because it allows wisdom and truth and good to be put into action. Basically, how it works is that Jupiter and Mars are necessary to each other because Mars is the planet of action. Mars is the planet of energy. But Mars is tamasic. Mars is rajasic. So if it was up to Mars, Mars eat meat. Mars smoke cigarette. Mars drink alcohol. Mars have war. Okay? So it's action and energy, but it has this lower vibration of tamas and rajas. Now Jupiter, which is all wise, is like a guru who has completely reached the highest levels of spiritual or esoteric wisdom. But he's sitting in an ashram in a blanket all day, talking to nobody. In other words, this guru has reached the highest level of moksha, liberation, samadhi, and is currently experiencing pure divine bliss. But that guru is making no difference in the world. That guru is doing nothing with the wisdom. It's just sitting with the wisdom. And so Jupiter and Mars, they work very essentially with each other, where Mars needs Jupiter, so it has something wisdom to put into action. So instead of eating meat, when Jupiter is influenced, it wants to eat vegetable, but it's going to eat vegetable because of action. Now, if Mars wants to be in war, well, then Jupiter are helping the action to seek peace, to help bring peace, to help bring balance. So there's this vibration that Jupiter needs Mars to put into action, to take that wisdom and do something in the world with it, to make a difference with it, to make a difference in terms of what you're doing with that wisdom. And that Mars needs Jupiter to know something wisely to put into action. So they're very favorable in each other's dignities. Now, this is due to when Jupiter enters Aries in particular, it encourages a highly beneficial vibration of being very generous, wise, and accomplishing and achieving in fields which are true, good, and righteous. So these people are go-getters. These people get things done. They are kind in their disposition. They are generous. They are wise. And they are always growing in what they are seeking to accomplish. And usually they're doing it in a very moral and ethical fashion as well. This allows the natives' intentions and actions associated with the Mars and Aries vibration to be deeply influenced by morality and selflessness. So even though this individual will be a go-getter who get things done, often they are doing things for other people, not necessarily always for the benefit of themselves. Selfless action. And this auspicious conjunction allows someone to achieve and accomplish anything in whichever bhava Jupiter sits. So wherever Jupiter sits with Jupiter in Aries, it will allow you to accomplish that aim of life. It will allow you to accomplish that area of life. But if, and only if, the actions that the native is taking are of the highest truth and morality. So you can accomplish anything you wish in whichever house the Jupiter in Aries sits. So if Jupiter in his Aries in the second house, you can be extremely rich. If Jupiter is in the 10th house, you could be extremely successful. You could be extremely famous. But if, and only if, your business practices are moral and ethical. If, and only if, that your fame is based off of your humility. In other words, there's an example here where you can accomplish anything, but only if it's of moral integrity. Otherwise, you will never be able to get anywhere with it. So this can be a challenging vibration, is that if you do something in terms of an action which doesn't have moral integrity, this vibration will punish you for that, and you will get set back. Because Aries likes to take one step forward, then another step forward, then another step forward, then another step forward. And these backward steps in terms of going against what you believe, it's just very harmful for this vibration. So it can really set you back karmically. So in other words, part of the remedy of the Jupiter in Aries is to, you really can't go against the morality in terms of the actions. So the actions and morality are inseparable. Now, when Jupiter enters Scorpio, it's a much more mystical vibration. This has powerful mystical implications. This conjunction supports the native to be drawn towards all curiosities related to spirituality, mysticism, religion, medicine, and the ancient sciences like Jyotish, Ayurveda, Vastu, yoga. And so there is a draw to these things for these natives. There is an innate curiosity to investigate all of these spiritual, religious, medicinal, ancient aspects of life. Now, this conjunction shows that the native's nature and potentially the past life karma to be one of expansion of mystical and spiritual wisdom. So that, and this includes, Vedic sciences and medicine. And basically this means that those with Jupiter and Scorpio, it's possible in a past lifetime, you're just a very curious soul and you're a mystical soul. And so you're going to continue to investigate whichever possibilities present themselves in your lifetime. Now, if Jupiter and Scorpio sits in the 10th house, this could be a very medicinally oriented career. But because of the Jupiter and Scorpio vibration, maybe it's Ayurveda, maybe it's not traditional medicine, maybe it's osteopathy, homeopathy, naturopathy, any of these alternative forms of medicine as well. And if Jupiter in Scorpio is in the 8th house, it signifies that too. So it really has a mystical bhava, this conjunction, and it really represents a spiritual curiosity in whichever area of life this sits, which usually encourages these natives to look outside of the box. Now, there's a great indication this karma influences, to look outside of the box, look outside of society, social norms, traditional methods of approach, and common methods into somewhat uncharted territory. So if there's a common way of doing things, if there's a common way of getting things done, then those with Scorpio in Jupiter will probably not do it that way. They will do it in an outside of the box, unique method. So they will be performing whatever they are doing in a somewhat unique and creative way. Now, Jupiter also has a very favorable dignity and karma in the sun-ruled sign of Leo. You know, Jupiter and Sun kind of have this neutral relationship. It can be challenging, especially if the Jupiter is combust, like close to the Sun. That can be very challenging for Jupiter. But when Jupiter enters the sign of Leo, it encourages a very potent combination of leadership and righteousness with spirituality, morality, ethics, and wisdom. So it makes an alignment for a really beautiful type of leadership vibration, which is part of the highest potential, because if a leader has wisdom, there is no greater leader. If a leader has spirituality, there is no greater leader. So it encourages a vibration for leadership, but not without spirituality and morality. And so this combination is particularly good. This supports the greatest kind of leadership, the greatest leadership potential in whichever house the Jupiter in Leo sits. So if you have a Jupiter ascendant with Leo, this will make it so you really have a spiritual leadership vibration where you could really lead a huge, movement. You could lead, and if Jupiter's in the 10th house, it could also show that your career, you'd be a leader in your career. If it showed in your wealth, you would be a leader in terms of, this could be a very financially prosperous vibration. In the 7th house, Jupiter in Leo shows that your partner will be very wise, and they will be the leader of the relationship. In other words, there's a real empowerment to the partner if Jupiter in Leo sits in the 7th house. And in other words, what's most compatible there is a very strong partner, a leader in their own right. And that manifests for Aquarius Lagna usually. Now, this auspicious conjunction, it allows knowledge, wisdom, and goodness to be put into power and strength, so positive changes can be made in the world. Basically, you can think of Leo as like a king. And when the Jupiter mixes with the king vibration, it allows the king to be righteous. It allows the king to be kind. It allows the king to be good and ethical. And therefore, he is a king for the people by the selfless humanitarian vibrations. And so it really, if this type of leader has a strong Jupiter and Leo vibration, he's really a leader for the people. So there is this leadership of spiritual leadership, but it's also selfless. So Jupiter has a fairly neutral dignity and a mixed karmic effect in the Saturn-ruled sign of Aquarius. But unlike Capricorn, it's not really debilitated here. It's just challenged. It's kind of more of a neutral vibration. So it's not really a debilitation. And a lot of times the Jupiter in Aquarius, it could have really interesting significations. When Jupiter enters Aquarius, it supports the spiritual path to our highest self or inner guru, to be primarily based on the advancement, expansion, and evolution of our consciousness, which means those with Jupiter and Aquarius, their spiritual path is based on the growth of their consciousness and also their consciousness alignment with the most sattvic universal consciousness. So it's about that their consciousness is the most advanced and the most in alignment with the universal consciousness of what humanity really needs, with what humanity really wants. So it's really about the advancement of their consciousness. In other words, there are different types of path of yoga. There's karma yoga. There's bhakti yoga. There are these different forms of yoga. And here for the Jupiter in Aquarius, this form of spiritual evolution, it's based on the inner workings of your consciousness, which is a real kind of like spiritual, internal, reflective path. Now, when Jupiter sits in Aquarius, it also activates a karma in which the spiritual path is about the advancement of the collective consciousness. Now, when I say collective consciousness, there are different forms of collective consciousness. There is collective consciousness, which is the whole planet Earth, which is all of humanity. Then India has a collective consciousness. Then the United States has a collective consciousness. But then Mumbai has a collective consciousness, and Philadelphia has a collective consciousness. So there's the greater collective consciousness, and then there are these more subtle collective consciousnesses. But when the Jupiter is in the Aquarius, what's that, Madhuraji? What's that?
No, nothing. Go ahead.
Okay, sorry. So when Jupiter sits in Aquarius, it allows the native to expand and advance in the consciousness in whichever bhava Jupiter sits, and helps align the collective consciousness as well. Which means, for example, in as far as the advancement of human consciousness, there's something that's very true about everybody is equal. And that no matter what your race, what your gender, what your religion, what your sexual orientation, that we are all equal. And this is an inherent truth, I think, of spiritual consciousness. Now, the Jupiter in Aquarius wants everyone to think this way. And so part of their dharmic vibration, part of their spiritual evolution is to encourage the consciousness of those to change and to shift and to grow and align more to these understanding, for example, that everyone should be treated equally. And so if someone doesn't believe that, then the Jupiter in Aquarius vibration, over time, it will help them to believe that. In other words, if you're with a person with Jupiter in Aquarius for very long, after a while, you're going to believe what they believe. Now, it depends which area of life the Jupiter sits, but depending on where it is, that's where the consciousness is advanced. So if you have it in the fourth house, it allows your consciousness to be the most advanced in the home, and it also allows you to advance the other consciousness of others in your home. If you have Jupiter and Aquarius in the seventh house, it allows you to advance the consciousness of your partner. And it also allows the partner's consciousness to be a part of you. And so it's really this combining of consciousnesses. So this is just an example of how this works. Now, Jupiter is a slow-moving planet, and Aquarius is ruled by Saturn, Kṣaṇāti. This path towards advancement of consciousness, which Jupiter and Aquarius is all about, can move very slowly. It can be very challenging, and it can include many tests, challenges, and obstacles along the way. Because basically, to continue to grow your consciousness to its most evolved position, and to help those around you evolve their consciousness, it's not an easy task. Jupiter has a inauspicious dignity and a mixed karmic effect in the Venus-ruled sign of Taurus. Okay, so Venus in Taurus can be, similarly to Venus in Libra, can be a challenging vibration. And I will admit that I have Jupiter in Taurus. So this is my personal Jupiter dignity in my chart. Now, when Jupiter enters the sign of Taurus, it can bring certain challenging karmas, because the spiritual, selfless, and ethical qualities of Jupiter are combining with the material, accumulative, possessive, and grounded karmas of Taurus. This conjunction creates certain opposing dualities. In other words, spiritual and material. In other words, these two different worlds. And so the spiritual Jupiter karma, which is selflessness, and the material Taurus karma of material accumulation are kind of combined. So there's this real challenging karma in which the native has to balance between the material world and the spiritual world, and how to relate to both of those realms. Now, when Jupiter aligns to Taurus, it activates a karma in which spiritual wisdom has its material, physical, and tangible expression in the world. In other words, for those with Taurus, Jupiter and Taurus, to them, spiritual wisdom, it's a material thing. It's a physical thing, like some kind of reward or like some kind of award. So these people with Jupiter and Taurus, they like to get rewarded for their spiritual knowledge. They like to get diplomas. They like to get awards. They like to get certificates. They like to get compliments. They like to they like when the spirituality is expressed in a material way. So it resonates with them. And this, some people think that spirituality and material are like opposite. But for Jupiter and Taurus, they're really trying to combine the spiritual and the material. Now, so Jupiter and Taurus also supports a karma because of the combination of the material and the spiritual, which allows extreme generosity and a sharing attitude to manifest. Because spirituality has its material expression, they often like to give gifts. They often like to give away food. They often like to cook for others. They often like to give away free things because they think that spirituality has its material expression. So when you give away a gift, they think that's spiritual. So for Jupiter and Taurus, they think giving away gifts, giving away money, giving away material things, that's spiritual. So for example, if Jupiter has Taurus in the 7th house, they think that giving a ring to the partner is spiritual, that the ring is spiritual. So this is a vibration of it as well. So it allows the native to have a giving nature, and they usually give away money, valuable items, gifts, opportunities, and possibilities or potentials to others. So these people like to give other people opportunities for them to be successful in the material realm as well. And so basically it takes the selfless humanitarian vibration of Jupiter and encourages it to be expressed materially and physically. Therefore, these natives are incredibly generous, but their offerings can be physical or material in their nature. So they're extremely generous, but usually they're generous in terms of physical gestures and material aspects. So we have a couple more signs to look at here, and we haven't talked about how Jupiter relates to the Mercury-ruled signs of Gemini and Virgo. And so Jupiter, just like it relates to Venus, it can relate to Mercury in a challenging fashion, and most astrologers consider this to be an inauspicious dignity. Now, Jupiter in Mercury signs is particularly challenging because Mercury is connected to the buddhi, which is the discretionary understanding or intellect, our logic, our rationale. And Guru or Jupiter is connected to the spiritual wisdom, which comes from the religion, the spirituality. It comes from the Paramatman. It comes from the universal soul. So this intellectual and spiritual vibrations can really be dualistic or opposing. In other words, if the Paramatma is sending down divine wisdom, you may not be able to understand it logically, rationally, intellectually. Spiritual wisdom is not meant to be stood intellectually. And so there's this vibration here in which there's an integration. How can I understand spirituality with science? How can I understand spirituality with my intellect? And it's kind of a challenging process because they're kind of, you can't understand everything that is spiritually true with the intellect. In other words, it is so. And it is so, and it is so, and we have to leave it at that. And that's faith, which is Jupiter. And so faith and intellect are in war. Okay. Now, when Jupiter enters the sign of Gemini in particular, it takes a diverse and external intellectual vibration. So it's very smart. These people are very intellectual, and diverse in their understanding. So they also know a lot about many different things. And it allows this intellectual energy to align with their spiritual wisdom. So often those with Jupiter in Gemini find themselves expanding their wisdom and spiritual understanding in a wide variety of manifestations. This allows those to encourage diverse spiritual understanding, potentially of varying religions and spiritual paradigms. So those with Jupiter in Gemini, they have a very powerful energy to know a lot of different religion. They might not know any one religion really profoundly, because they understand all of the religion. Just like we talked about 20 manifestations of Guru Deva vibration in terms of spiritual wisdom. Well, the Jupiter and Gemini, they don't want just one type of wisdom. They want a diverse aspect of wisdom. The real weakness or challenge of Jupiter and Gemini is that the intellectual, rational, or logical aspect of the consciousness has power and prioritization over spiritual wisdom and ethic. And so basically what that means, let's say someone has a hard decision to make. The native with Jupiter and Gemini has a hard decision to make. And they have to choose between the logical decision or what they have been told from their guru or what they have been told from their spirituality. And because of the Jupiter and Gemini, sometimes they may choose what makes sense instead of what is spiritually, in terms of what is spiritually true or what they have learned spiritually. Now, in other words, they favor the logic over the spirit sometimes. Now, when Jupiter enters the sign of Virgo, it takes an intense concentration and focus of intellectual energy and integrates it with wisdom and understanding. This means the intellect analyzes everything from a rational and logical place. So the Jupiter in Virgo vibration, it means that there is always an intellectual and a rational analysis going at all times. Virgo cannot see or observe anything without analyzing it or rationally understanding it. And so when Jupiter aligns to this vibration, it means there is a constant analysis as to whether the logical, moral, and ethical, something aligns to the logical, moral, ethical, and spiritual ideals, because Virgo is also a perfectionist vibration. So basically when they're trying to align to the highest potential of something, they're going to, it has to be logical, it has to be rational, and it also has to be moral and ethical. So this is a real perfectionist vibration that can be challenging sometimes. Constantly improving life, bringing things to their ideal condition. But when Jupiter influences that, it allows morals, ethics, and spirituality to come in conflict with what is rationally or logically ideal. Again, the intellect and the spirit are in war with each other here. Do I go with what makes spiritual sense, or do I go with what makes logical sense in terms of improving the situation? In other words, this is malefic because one prioritizes what makes sense over what might be true spiritually or what they might have been taught. Okay, so Madhuraji, what's the position of your Jupiter?
Yeah, it is in Leo.
I had a feeling.
Uh-huh.
Very cool, very cool. Did everything resonate with you when we discussed Jupiter and Leo?
Yeah, very true. Yes.
Great. Now I want to talk about Jupiter retrograde. I wasn't going to forget about Jupiter retrograde because it's really powerful and it's very significant in terms of the karmic implications for Jupiter. Now, Jupiter retrograde, Dr. Vasant Lad, one of my teachers, he would call Jupiter retrograde the guru's curse. And I've heard of many different things for the guru's curse. So Jupiter, there are all kinds of guru's curse. Guru Chandal and Moon Rahu, like those are all different. Sun Ketu, like these are all different types of guru curses. But it's significant that this is one aspect of what is called a guru curse, because Jupiter retrograde, it kind of shows some past lifetime karma that is challenged with the guru vibration. This karma is activated from a past lifetime perspective. So why do we have Jupiter retrograde? When we have achieved a certain level of moral ethics, truth, knowledge, and wisdom from one guru or lineage, and then move on to investigating experiences and growing in our knowledge and wisdom along another lineage or with another guru. So basically Jupiter, this is what Dr. Vasant Lad says, that basically the Jupiter retrograde is caused when in our past lifetimes our guru get jealous. And of course a guru is supposed to be fully enlightened, so jealousy seems very human. So I always thought this was kind of funny. But I think he was joking, and what he really means is when it comes to the guru vibration, there's a certain energy which is loyalty to one guru. There is a certain vibration of Jupiter which is about loyalty to one guru. And Jupiter retrograde, when they have one guru and then they experience what they need to with that guru, then they start with new guru, then they start with other lineage, then we start with other thing. And by the way, I have Jupiter retrograde, so I have many, many different guru. But my greatest guru is Amma. And so there has to be kind of an understanding of how this fits into one's life. But yes, this shows that potentially from a past lifetime perspective, you went from one guru to another. Okay. And Jupiter in retrograde activates a karma in which the natives' understanding of truth, morality, and ethics, as well as spirituality, mysticism, and religion, is created through life experience and one's own understanding. And so basically, those with Jupiter in retrograde, most of the time, they do not identify with one particular religion. Why? Because it is their religion that they have created for themselves from different religious traditions, from different gurus, from different spiritual teachers, from different life experiences. And so for those that Jupiter retrograde, their religion is their own. So if their name is Bob, then they believe in Bobism. If their name is Jerry, then they believe in Jerryism. If their name is Sanjit, then they believe in Sanjitism. Okay, so basically there's this vibration here in which they believe their own religion, which they created from a bunch of different aspects. So it's really its own creation, which is sourced from different religions and different spiritualities and traditions, but is probably not attached to one in itself as a manifestation of what it is, because it's coming from a lot of different angles. It's coming from a lot of different places. And so Jupiter's understanding of right and wrong, religion, spirituality, when it's retrograde, is created on their own. They cannot be told what to do. They cannot be told what to believe, because they are the creators of their own destiny. And their belief system is based on very many different things, different religion, different experiences, different teachers. And so they cannot be told what to do. They can be not told what to believe. They have to do exactly what they are intending to do in terms of their belief systems, their teachers. They have to really create their own path in terms of their spirituality and religion. And they will usually not just be inclined to one manifestation of that. That's why I said that they are defined in their own ism instead of a particular ism. So, for example, I have Jupiter retrograde. And I was born with Judaism. And when I got older, I began to focus and understand and study on Hinduism. Then I began to believe in Hinduism. And as far as my mystical practices and my sadhana, they're all Hindu-based. But I do not define myself with one religion. I guess it's kind of outside of the box. So those with Jupiter retrograde, they take religion outside of the box.
Yes.
So that is the end of the analysis there. And I'm just looking at what people are saying.
Yes.
And then I'm going to get into the karma. Okay, great. Thank you, everyone. I hope you're enjoying this webinar. And we will get more into how to improve our planetary karma with Jupiter now. So just to go over everything that we kind of focused, we understand Jupiter karma, how it manifests in terms of guru, in terms of Guru Deva, in terms of the Lord of Prayer. And we also understand how Jupiter is in this current transit and how Jupiter acts exalted, debilitated, natural sign in all of the planetary dignity. And so you should have a good understanding in your own chart to be able to understand, is my karma with Jupiter very auspicious, or is my karma with Jupiter very challenging, based on a lot of the analysis that we made. Now, no matter what, the most important thing in the awareness of this karma is how to improve the planetary karma, how to make this karma better. In other words, yes, it is great if we have knowledge and awareness. But if we can't improve the karma, if we can't make... So for those of you that are joining us and in your own native chart, you have Jupiter in a Venus sign. You have a Jupiter debilitated. You have a Jupiter retrograde. You have a Jupiter in the 6th house, in the 8th house, in the 12th house. You have a Jupiter who's in conjunction or aspected by an enemy planet. These ancient karmic improvements are really essential to in achieving the full potential of the positive benefit of your karmic relationship with Jupiter. So in the next lifetime, all is good in terms of your karma with Jupiter. And for those of you who already have good karma with Jupiter, exalted Jupiter in the 9th house, etc., you may find yourself encouraged to do these practices. Why? Because they unlock your innate nature. They unlocked your innate devotional nature. They unlock the guru within. Yes, that vibration is very strong within you, but you need to embody that every day. So these energies are important to really unlock that vibration, which is already innate inside of you. And then for those of you who struggle with that vibration, this is even more important. Thursday is the most beneficial day of the week to honor Guruji. And we honor Jupiter by wearing the color yellow. And if those of you are having a hard time seeing the font, I do apologize, but I wanted Jupiter to be very strong. As you can see, Jupiter planet here and then the color yellow on the font. This is a very strong Jupiter vibration. So I apologize that the font is maybe challenging to read, but I am going to explain everything in clear detail anyway. And but yes, yellow is the most auspicious color for Jupiter. So you want to improve your planetary karma with Jupiter. It's as simple as starting to wear yellow more often. Also, tawny. Tawny is an interesting color, but ancient Parashara. Parashara said Jupiter is tawny, and we honor Jupiter through tawny. Tawny is, if you're looking at the picture of Jupiter, in the background, you can see that inner circle of Jupiter, which is kind of brownish orange. So it's kind of got this pale brown color. The shirt that I'm wearing today is a perfect example of a tawny shirt. Tawny. So this is also favorable, which are brown, orange, orange, brown. And so we also honor Jupiter through traditional Jupiter mantra, which I did earlier in this webinar, including the full sutra and then the repetition of the tantric or seed sound 108 times. And specifically for Jupiter karma, I really like citrine, the gem citrine mala beads, citrine prayer beads. Now, when we also honor Jupiter from this ancient perspective through prayer in front of a well-designed Jupiter yantra. And so I like to encourage the mantra, the yantra, and the colors as some of the most simplest, but some of the most beautiful ways to improve our planetary karma with Jupiter. Now, we also honor Guru by wearing gemstones yellow sapphire and citrine on the index finger. Now, yellow sapphire obviously being way more potent than citrine. I think that the highest quality yellow sapphires come from Ceylon, Sri Lanka. So if you are purchasing a sapphire, please make sure it is unheated, untreated, and from Ceylon, Sri Lanka. Now, when the metal that is associated for Jupiter is gold. So the yellow sapphire in a gold setting is usually like what I recommend for my clients to improve our planetary karma with Jupiter. Again, there are many interpretations for wearing Jupiter gemstones. Dr. Lad used to joke not to wear a yellow sapphire or you're going to run away in a cave and become a monk. So Dr. Lad would joke, you would have to become a Shaivite or an ascetic or a sadhu if you wear Jupiter ring. But I would wear Jupiter ring and still participate in classes and my work and everything like that. So I do believe it can be very auspicious. Some different theories is the right hand for men, left hand for women, but the option, which is the traditional way of wearing the gemstones, but I prefer to understand that the right side of the body is to increase the overall energy and the left side of the body is to decrease the malefic energy. So if you want to increase an auspicious Jupiter, wear it on your dominant hand. And by right hand, left hand, I really mean dominant, non-dominant. And when you want to, let's say your Jupiter is debilitated, let's say your Jupiter is retrograde or a Navina sign, you might want to wear the Jupiter ring on your non-dominant hand. We also honored Guruji Jupiter through Brahma. So Guru is connected to Lord Brahma, and there are many temples in India and all over the world, and very few of them are Lord Brahma. There are many Vishnu temple, there are many Shiva temple, many Kali temple, many Durga temple, Rama, Hanuman, Krishna temple, but not very often do we find Brahma temples and ritualistic sites. And so we do honor Guruji through honoring Lord Brahma, the creator. And this includes traditional rituals and puja to Lord Brahma. We honor Guruji through the incarnation of Vishnu known as Vamana. There's a very beautiful ancient tale in which Vishnu took the form of Vamana to help Lord Indra regain control of Evan because there was an evil king, Bali, who was an Asurya. And so Vamana was essential to regain control of the Devas of heaven. And so we honor Lord Vamana as a manifestation of Jupiter karma. And so if you want to improve your relationship with Jupiter, improve your relationship with Brahma, improve your relationship with Vamana. Now, we honor Jupiter through offering yellow things like turmeric, yellow or orange clothing to the needy, such as the elderly, hungry, or sick. So if you can offer yellow things to other people, this is very ancient remedy for Jupiter. Now we'll get a little bit into the lifestyle improvement of Jupiter karma. Now, we honor Jupiter in lifestyle, which is in our daily life. How can we improve our planetary karma with Jupiter in our daily life? I think this is the most important part. And we do this by aligning to our highest self and therefore our inner guru. We align to the higher self by living a life of the highest moral and ethical integrity and never going against our wisdom in terms of truth, good, and righteous action. So we have our lifestyle is to live our life in alignment with our moral and ethical beliefs. So you have to live your life in complete alignment with what you believe is true, what you believe is good, what you believe is right, if you want to improve your planetary karma with Guru. Now, we manifest this type of ethical and moral potential through good deeds and righteous action. So in other words, we have ethical and moral beliefs, but how do we show that? Through good deeds and righteous action. So we have to show our moral and ethical beliefs through our actions. In other words, talk the talk, gotta walk the walk is more important. And so this is how we become the best person that we can be, through good deeds and righteous action of ethical and moral nature. Now, our Jupiter karma is greatly improved through a lifestyle concentrated with selfless or humanitarian thought, motivations, and actions. So basically, in terms of consciousness, there's nothing better we can do to improve our planetary karma than be selfless. Now, and so when we are being selfless, it inherently is improving our karma with Jupiter because it's unlocking the full potential of this guru within ourselves. Now, Jupiter type selfless service or humanitarian action manifest as kind deeds. Now, there is another planet which is often associated with selfless, serveless, and humanitarian action, and that's Saturn. And so both selfless service and humanitarian action are encouraged to improve our karma with Jupiter. They're encouraged to improve our karma with Saturn, Shani. But it's a very different type of selfless service or humanitarian action that you do for Jupiter than you do for Shani. For Shani, you help the homeless, you help the old, you help the needy, you help the sick. But with the Jupiter type of selfless service, you do kind deeds and moral actions to strangers, family, friends, and those that we interact with on a daily basis. So there's a very different vibration in that it's kind of like being the best person you can be to every single person you come into interaction with. But you're not necessarily going out of the way to feed the hungry or to help a homeless person. It's really, okay, I interacted with this stranger. How could I be the best person I can be and help them? I interacted with my friends. How can I be the best person I can be and help them? I'm interacting with my family members. How can I be the best person I can be? And how can I help them? This selfless energy to those people that you interact with in your daily life. This is how you improve your planetary karma with Jupiter. Jupiter karma is improved in our lifestyle when we manifest the full spectrum of selfless action, kindness, and generosity in our everyday life, no matter who we are interacting with. And so basically, when we can be selfless, kind, and generous to everybody, no matter who they are or how they are coming into their lives, there is a real showing of your good relationship with Jupiter, and this should be a very positive karmic relationship for you. Now, karma with Jupiter is improved with our lifestyle when we help the old lady across the street. This is an example of you're just going through your day, you're at the grocery store, and you see an old lady struggling with her groceries. Well, you take her groceries and you take her hand and you help her get across the street. You put her groceries in the car and you tell her to have a nice day. This is an example of just being a good person as you go throughout your day. This might be buying a stranger in a meal. Let's say you're at a restaurant and you see someone ordering a meal and you notice that they don't have much money, that they look like they're homeless or something like that. You go ahead and you buy that person a meal. this is a good deed. This is a good action. This is a good example of a lifestyle of Jupiter. How about when we hold the door open for someone? We're always in a rush to go everywhere, but sometimes the simplest actions have the largest implications. When we hold the door open for someone, that's a selfless action. That's a humanitarian action, so that person doesn't have to open the door themselves. It might not seem like much, but it's the small things that make a difference. Karma with Jupiter is improved with our lifestyle when we help our friends and family members with something they ask of us, no matter what it is. So all of the times in our life, our friends and family members are asking things of us, energy-wise, for us to help them and support them with. And Jupiter karma is greatly improved when we support our family and friends in this way. Because when we put the benefit of that person in our life, the friend or family member, above your own, Jupiter karma is greatly improved. So whenever you put the benefit of your family or friend member above yourself, which is selfless, you're improving your planetary karma with Jupiter too. Now, the Jupiter karma lifestyle improvement includes helping our friends and family in moments of need. So that's one aspect, as well as supporting them in whichever area of life they may need support. Because Jupiter is selfless and humanitarian. And for those people in your life that need support, Jupiter karma is aided by being supportive. This often includes financial, therapeutic, and spiritual support. So you might need to support a friend or family financially, which means they might need money from you. That's positive to improve your karma from Jupiter, to give money to a friend or family member that you really love and trust. Also, in terms of therapy, they might have gone through an experience and they might need you to help them. Or for spirituality, because of Jupiter karma, the family or friend member may help you to help them grow in their spirituality or in their religion, in their sadhana. So this support manifests in many different ways. Okay, so the lifestyle improvement of Jupiter karma is very important to align to our highest mystical, spiritual, and religious potential. And so how do we do that in our lifestyle to improve our planetary karma with Jupiter? We create auspicious Jupiter karma in our lifestyle through expansion of wisdom in any spiritual, mystical, or religious tradition. Therefore, the best way to improve your planetary karma with Jupiter is to explore, study, and integrate various spiritual, religious, or mystical traditions. So basically, by studying and integrating spiritual and religious aspects to our lives, we improve our planetary karma with Jupiter. Therefore, for my clients who need to improve their planetary karma with Jupiter, I usually suggest a lifestyle improvement through studying an ancient spiritual or religious form of wisdom or understanding for at least 1 hour per day. And what I'm really talking about is an ancient text. So if you feel that you need to improve your planetary karma with Jupiter, one of the best things that you can do is to study and read an ancient text, particularly of a spiritual or religious nature. I like to recommend 1 hour per day, and on Thursday, even more. I really like to insist that when improving our planetary karma with Jupiter, it's not about reading a book that was written in this century. The wisdom has to be ancient. I'm talking 500 years old at least, but better if it's 1,000, 2,000 years old or more. Okay, so the older, the better to improve our planetary karma with Jupiter. The more ancient the knowledge, the better it will support your Jupiter karma. Now, we also improve and honor our relationship with Jupiter by honoring our teachers and gurus in our life. We talked about the Jupiter retrograde and how that can be a challenge. And so we improve our planetary karma with Jupiter through really honoring our teachers and our gurus. And so whenever we take a fully conscious and awakened teacher in our lives and then look to this guru for support, guidance, wisdom, and inspiration, our Jupiter karma is improved. So I'm saying when you have a real guru, like an actual Sat guru, like Amma or Neem Karoli Baba, who has fully realized and enlightened, and you integrate that guru's teachings into your life and that guru's presence into your life, that's like the best way to improve your planetary karma with Jupiter right there. Is just like take an enlightened master and integrate their teachings and their being into your life. Nothing will unlock the guru inside of you like a fully awakened guru manifesting in another incarnation. Now, we greatly improve our relationship with Jupiter through lifestyle when we embody the lessons, wisdom, and principles of our gurus. And so basically, every guru has certain teachings. They have certain teachings. And we improve our planetary relationship with Jupiter when we embody the teachings of our guru. So basically, we improve our relationship with Jupiter when we live our life in alignment with our guru's teachings. And our planetary karma with Jupiter is very, very damaged. It's very, very hurt when we go against the teachings of our guru. This could cause debilitation issues in the next life. Now, Jupiter karma is also deeply aided and supported by treating one's body as a temple, because we're a vessel, we're a channel, we're a conduit. We talked about that for Pisces. And so Jupiter helps us align to the full potential of our inner guru and highest self, this channel to the Paramatma. And this is only made possible through honoring our body as a spiritual temple. Well, we improve this karma with Jupiter by honoring the body as a vessel of light, as a temple, and treating it that way, which means not polluting the body, not putting anything in the body that would bring it down. So you wouldn't put anything inside of your body you would not bring inside of the temple. And so you wouldn't bring a cigarette into a temple, would you? And so this is just an example. And so this aspect of the body as a temple needs to be treated with the utmost respect and honor to continue to improve our planetary karma with Jupiter. Now, specifically looking at Ayurvedic improvement, this is going to be very beneficial for those of you that have Jupiter in the 6th house, those of you that have Jupiter in the 8th house, that those that you can have a challenged Jupiter in the Lagna or in the 12th house, that this Ayurvedic improvement of Jupiter is going to be essential to your well-being, because when Jupiter sits in those houses in a challenging way, it really aggravates the kapha dosha in the body. Now, of course, it depends the dignity of the Jupiter. If it's in Scorpio, it'll be bringing Pitta in there. If it's in Taurus, it'll just be double emphasizing the kapha. So there could be dual doshic aspects as well. But to know that Jupiter karma is related to the Ayurvedic dosha of kapha, and this contains the elements of earth and water. Therefore, to improve the planetary karma with Jupiter, we have to keep kapha in balance in our body, mind, and spirit. Okay? Kapha dosha contains the qualities of heavy, guru, soft, mrudu, slow, cool, hima, static, gross, stula, hard, katina, smooth, slimy. Okay? These are all guru's qualities. These are all Jupiter's qualities, which are kapha in their nature. And so when there are aggravations to the kapha dosha, there are usually excessive amounts of these qualities within the system. We balance challenging Jupiter karma and kapha dosha imbalances with the opposing qualities of light, rough, mobile, warm, and sharp. So when we invite these qualities into our life, they balance the kapha dosha. Because kapha dosha is heavy, Jupiter karma can be heavy, you need more light. Because it can be static or inertia, you need more movement, mobile. Because it is dull and soft, you need more sharpness, tikshna. And so this is some of the Ayurvedic science of how to improve the medical planetary karma with Jupiter. Now, Kapha or Jupiter karma can be challenged by excessive amounts of sweet or sour food. So those of you who have strong karma with Jupiter, 6th, 8th house, you need to be careful of how much sweet. You need to be careful of how much sour. And so you need to be very careful with grain like rice and wheat and corn. And you need to be very careful with candy, cookie, chocolate. So these are going to be, because sometimes, for example, Kapha in the 8th house causes diabetes. And this is due to excessive amount of sweet in the body. You can't process it. So therefore, only moderate amounts of sweet and sour taste should be consumed with strong Jupiter karma is activated or strong. Balancing taste, when Jupiter karma is challenging for the health, you want to eat a lot of pungent or spicy food and bitter food, like leafy green vegetable. Now, Ayurvedic herbs that are very supportive when we have health-related Jupiter challenges are pipali, long pepper, chitrak, ginger, and black pepper, which includes trikatu, purnarnava, gokshora, shankapushpi, and tulsi. So if you have heavy kapha aggravations in your body, or particularly that's related to Jupiter, working with these herbs can be a very healing process. We're going to dive into some examples. I'd like to ask Victoria to come into the session live, please.
Yes, I found the most of substantive. Yes. Hi, Victoria.
Hi, Victoria. Can you unmute your mic? Mute your mic. Hi, Victoria. Namaste.
Namaste.
Nice to meet you.
Very nice to meet you. Thank you for taking my question.
Of course, it's my honor. Thank you for joining us today. I hope you've enjoyed the webinar so far.
Yes, very much.
Okay, fantastic. Now, let's take a look at your question together. Your question was, I wanted to ask a question about having Jupiter in good dignity, Sagittarius, Mula Nakshatra, 4th Pada, so you mentioned exalted in Navamsha, but with the low Shud Bala at 91% in 6th house and losing planetary war with Mars, with aspect of Saturn from 4th. Okay, so you talked about some challenges there to the Jupiter, some challenges there from that vibration as well, even though that Jupiter has really nice dignity in your chart. So how to interpret the good dignity and the low Shud Bala together? What kind of result and karma would it show? And what does it say about the significations of Jupiter karma, like husband, children, guru, spirituality? Is that that's the correct question?
Yes, exactly.
And this is your correct charts, both North and South Indian?
Yes, perfect.
Fantastic. So as you mentioned in your chart, we find Jupiter within 2 degrees of Mars in Sagittarius. Okay, so here we have Jupiter at 13 degrees in Sagittarius and Mars at 15 degrees. Okay, and as noted, Jupiter has good dignity in its natural sign of Sagittarius, but is struggling in some of the calculations of its planetary strength or Shud Bala. While the conjunction of Jupiter and Mars within 2 degrees could be considered a planetary war, I prefer to think of this as an auspicious conjunction, actually. As I talked a little bit earlier, that Mars and Jupiter, they have this really profound relationship. And so this aspect of your chart in which Mars and Jupiter are together, I think the conjunction of these planets is benefiting each other more than challenging each other. In other words, yes, there is a planetary war here, but at least these planets are best friends. And so that has some auspicious vibration as well. I also like to use Yogananda. the great Paramahamsa Yogananda, who had a Mars Jupiter conjunction similar to yours in his 8th house. And he really made a difference with spirituality in the world. And so it can be very auspicious in terms of putting spirituality into action and wisdom into action. So that's not the most challenging part of the thing there. I think that could be positive. So Mars also has favorable dignity in Sagittarius. So like this Mangal Guru Yoga, you could call it. It has some favorable vibration. This conjunction sits in your 6th house. And what is suggesting your spiritual evolution is through work and service. And the Mars is making that more action-oriented. And this is where the more challenging karma sits, because Jupiter doesn't do particularly well in the 6th house. So more than anything, I think the greatest challenge to the Jupiter here is that it's in the 6th house. And it causes some loss to the bulla there, because Jupiter isn't really comfortable there. And it's not really comfortable in the 6th, 8th, or 12th house, but there can be exceptions to that as well. Now, how this challenging karma might manifest, that there are certain spiritual lessons and some difficult, you could say, education in terms of one's health, because the 6th house is also indicated to do with Vikriti. So it shows there are some lessons as relates to the health of your body, the understanding of the health of your body, and what weakens you, and to keep yourself balanced, and some of the subtle challenges there, because this is the 6th house of Vikriti. It's not the type of health challenges that would lead to death or any type of chronic disease, but more so the kind of health challenges that we struggle with on a daily basis, like sometimes feeling really heavy, and then sometimes feeling like really like busy or action oriented. And sometimes with the Mars Jupiter, you can kind of go between those two things. Now, as far as the significations, and also one of the challenging aspects of this vibration is the 6th house is a strong house for self-improvement. And so this Jupiter and Mars show there's a lot of spiritual self-improvement, and like showing that improvement in your life through like your actions and everything. So you're really a self-help, make yourself better kind of person. And it really, you've worked really hard on that, and you're really able to integrate all of the things that you've learned into how to make yourself a better person. This is really positive. And so, but on the challenging side of that, it can show you your flaws. So the flaws come to the surface more often because you're meant to work with them, because you're meant to move through them, because the process of self-improvement is the eradication of flaws. And then also the 6th house has an association as being the house of enemies. And so this can be a challenging karma for the Jupiter-Mars vibration, in terms of along your spiritual path, you're going to find people who really believe in you and support you and what you believe in your vision. And there's also going to be some people who secretly, you'll find out, don't really have your best interests in their heart, in terms of these people, they could be jealous. They could be, they could not have the highest intentions for you. And so that could be one of the challenging vibrations of this position too. But overall, I see a lot of auspicious vibration in terms of self-improvement, the work that you do, the service that you do, and the service and then service-oriented nature. Now, as far as the traditional significations of Jupiter, you know, partner, children, guru, I think it shows that you are in a great service and work to all of these things, because this karma is concentrated its way in the 6th house. In other words, when it comes to your partner, you're kind of going to be in service, and it's going to be work, because when the 6th house karma is concentrated, it's service and work. So there has to be an understanding that part of your spiritual evolution is to be in service to these things. And but this includes the partner. So, you know, the being with the partner, there's work, you're in service. When it comes to your children, you're really going to have to be in service, and they're going to be work too. And then also, but it's helping you for your spiritual evolution. And even the guru too, it's kind of like a service oriented or seva. So there's a real like strong significance that seva is the strongest path to your guru's grace. But it is, yeah, I see this as a very beautiful and spiritual karma that has its challenges because you're constantly in service and work to these things, and you're constantly improving on yourself. And yeah, it's also aspecting your 12th house. So ultimately, this path of service, this path of work, is orienting you towards moksha as well. So that's supportive.
Thank you very much. So the low Shat Bala would show only for the challenges part.
What?
The low Shat Bala, it's about the challenges. Yeah. This is how you interpret it. Yes. Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
And the challenge is there that that it's just the thing with Jupiter is that it likes its spiritual evolution to be comfortable, you know. And the challenge here from the low Shat Bala and the position of the 6th house is that your spiritual evolution, it's a action oriented, service oriented path, which is going to feel like work at times. So in other words, it's not as leisurely spiritual evolutionary path as a Jupiter might prefer.
Okay. It's very true. It's been 5 years I'm working in spiritual communities almost all the time, and I'm doing a lot of seva. So yeah, it's very true.
Such a pleasure to meet you, Victoria.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Okay, wonderful. That was a great question. Thank you, Victoria. So now let's look at Meltem.
Yes, sure. I don't see him.
No?
No. Actually, he was there previously, but I don't see him.
Okay. Oh, well, I really put a lot of thought into her question. Maybe we'll look at it as a case study.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so we'll just go through it real quick as a case study, even though we're not going to be pulling her in. I just want her to see what I prepared for her.
Yes.
So my question would be related to her children. I thought this was a beautiful question. She mentioned that she had 6 children, and the 7th will be born in December. She loves the children very much, and she wants to know if something is going to change this year or next year related to all of the children. For example, will there be a separation between them or anything that is dangerous? So obviously a parent very concerned with the safety of their many children. We can all relate to that. Actually, I can't yet, but one day I'll be able to. Hopefully. So this is the chart of Meltem Ji that we had focused on here. And you'll notice as far as Jupiter karma, we have Jupiter and Mars conjunction again, posited itself in the 11th house, which is aspecting the 5th house, which is ruled by Jupiter. Now, when looking at Jupiter karma in this chart, with specific attention to the children karma, we find Jupiter in the 11th house, Gemini, conjunct with Mars, 29 and 3 degrees. In terms of extra significations of children, we find Jupiter aspects and rules the 5th house. So there's a full aspect of Jupiter on the 5th as well as a rulership. This type of karma suggests one's Kama, K-A-M-A, soul's dreams, has a strong affinity for children karma, and therefore there is a deep soul desire to be a mother or parent. Okay? Also suggests that one's spiritual evolution and dharma is also connected towards being a mother or parent. So it's suggesting this, that the parent is the being a parent is part of karma, and therefore the soul is desiring on this on a profound level. Jupiter's expansion here also promotes great fertility in the chart, which has supported you to be a mother of 6. So the rulership of Jupiter here, by the aspect, it's going to help with the fertility of the couple, which has supported you to be a parent of 6 and shortly 7 children, which is absolutely amazing. And I just want to thank you for bringing so many beautiful souls into this world. Now, I like Mars with Jupiter conjunction here, as what does it do in terms of your relationship with your children? It promotes you to be very active and present in their life. And it also helps you to bring a lot of wisdom into their lives. And so this allows you to bear support and welfare for them, which is one of the descriptions of Mars, which is basically to be there for them, to give them what they need and to help support them on their journey. You can also impart wisdom and education on them by Jupiter. And so particularly of moral and ethics, because of Sagittarius, you're teaching them right and wrong. You're teaching them good and bad. And this is an essential part of your karma with them. Also, since you have 4 planets in the Jupiter-ruled Pisces, and you'll see that in the 8th house here, you also have a great connection to the divine and to the mystical, and you can impart great spiritual wisdom on them and knowledge from the Paramatma. Jupiter in Gemini karma in your chart creates a diversity of children. So that creates a diversity, a diverse aspect to your children, which means probably different genders. So I'm sure that some are men, some are women. And that also that their personalities, their characters and interests, they would also vary greatly. So odds are you have 6, about to be 7, very different children. Okay, they're going to be very different in their natures. Now, of course, this depends on their charts and things like that. I'm sure there will be similarities before them too, but the Gemini aspects adds a variety to them. So there's differences to them that's very strong. It shows a profound connection and karma with your children and your dharma as a spiritual and your path, which is to be a parent. This Jupiter karma relates to your children, also shows that you will be extremely protective of them throughout their lives. Sagittarius is a very protective vibration. And so you'll always be fighting for freedom and fairness in their lives. So if if they're treated unfairly, you will always be fighting in their corner, and you always be fighting for them. In terms of your concern of separation and safety for them, as Jupiter is the great protector, your chart shows strong protection of them. And so I have no doubt in your children's safety. Okay? But all your planets in your 8th house, I bet, would make you worry about that. But know that Jupiter is helping protect them here. Okay? However, there is a karma in the chart because you have Saturn retrograde in your Lagna. We're talking about a different karma here. You're a Leo Lagna with Saturn retrograde, okay? And so one of the things that relates to your question with this Saturn retro Lagna, I feel, is that as time goes on in life and children age, and at some point this will create a natural separation between you and your children. And you are currently in your Saturn Antardasha, your Saturn time of life, till May 13th of 2019, okay? You're currently in your Saturn Mahadasha. And so part of your intuition is right, but it's completely natural. And that is signified in that as a new child comes into your life, you're about to have your 7th child. It is natural that one of the older children becomes more independent in their life. Okay, so your children will become more independent, and you will experience that as a separation at times. But nonetheless, it doesn't mean that they're less close to you. It just becomes they're becoming more independent in themselves. George, how you doing? Did we get George?
Yes, sure. I'll get him. Yes. I'm promoting. Hi, George.
Unmute the mic, brother. What's up, George? Oh no, you had it. You had it.
Do you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay.
Hey,
Hi,
brother.
dear.
How's it going? Namaste.
Namaste.
Good to see you.
Good to see you.
I hope you've been enjoying the webinar so far.
Wow, it was fantastic as usual.
Oh, thank you so much, brother. You're so kind. So I love your question. Let's talk about some karakas. You asked, what does imply having Jupiter as the Atmakara being in the great enemy sign Libra? Which is very interesting that Jupiter is in Libra now. So you'll be having your Jupiter return. So
That's right.
You can expect some big shifts and expansion in your career. That's for sure, because Jupiter has posited itself in the 10th house. But when we look at the Atmakarika position, let's talk about, again, we talked earlier, there was a question, Jupiter has good dignity but low Shad Bala. So there are these positive aspects and there are these challenging aspects. Well, here, that Jupiter in Libra, that could be considered a challenge. But Jupiter as your Atmakarika, that's a major strength. So we have to look at how these somewhat opposing aspects are interacting with each other.
I see.
When Jupiter is Atmakarika, it has incredible signification, which means any decision that you're going to make, George, you're going to be coming from a place of truth, ethics, and often spirituality. So as far as your decision-making process, there's always a prioritization on emphasis on truth, ethics, and spirituality. So you really, when it comes to the final decision or the final answer, it has to be in alignment with your truth, ethic, and your spiritual beliefs. This is part of what it means to just have Jupiter as your Atmakarika. Now, it also shows there is a generosity in your nature, because Jupiter is very generous, as well as a kindness, warmth, and giving nature. So these are also aspects of Jupiter Atmakarika. As mentioned, Jupiter finds itself in Libra, whose ruler Venus is an enemy to Jupiter. Okay? Now, this combination of the Atmakarika along with the challenging dignity will create a mixed effect. So there will be some very auspicious and then also probably some challenges as well. Now, certainly on the positive side, this creates a great spiritual appreciation of art, music, and entertainment, as well as an even deeper fondness for creative expression. So I talked a little bit earlier about how when you're at a music experience, you can experience the divine, you can experience the spirit in the music. Well, I've looked at your chart. We've done a reading together. I know you love music, and I know that you
That's
have
right.
experience. And so this is showing that because of your Jupiter return, though, it's a real important time to like embrace all of those energies and everything, just for the greatest expansion, because it's like the divine is in the music. The divine is in the beauty of nature. The divine is in the art. The divine is something you can see every day through the beauty of life. That's a real positive aspect of this combination here that I really like. And it also gives you a fondness for creative expressions that are spiritual or esoteric in their nature, like astrology, for example, which is a creative and spiritual kind of science. Now, it shows there will be an influence of love, beauty, pleasure, and material considerations involved in one's spiritual evolution. In other words, by the Jupiter in Libra with the Atma Karaka, it shows that one's full spiritual evolution, that you have to consider romance, you have to consider how to enjoy and have the beauty of life, as well as finances and houses and material considerations. In other words, all of these things need to be heavily considered in terms of the spiritual evolution, is the love and beauty and the potential for romance and the potential for material comfort and success. All of these things by the Jupiter in Libra aspecting the fourth in the 10th house here has some of these significations. So we talked a lot about the positive aspects. Now, on the more challenging side, it creates a karma, and this can be looked at two ways. In which one's spiritual path and evolution can sometimes be distracted by the material or the romantic. So these aspects of love, beauty, pleasure, and the material considerations, sometimes they can be a little distracting towards the ultimate spiritual evolution. In other words, sometimes money and the enjoyment of life and romance and all of these things, they can be distracting from one's ultimate spiritual evolution, which is moksha, which is complete non-attachment. So experiencing of the material world can sometimes make non-attachment also challenging. And so that can be some of the challenge here. So the dualities of the material universe can sometimes be tempting to be appreciated and studied. So this means that romance, music, art, career, all of these things, money, they can be appreciated, they can be studied, which can be distraction from pleasures and the beauty of life. So this can be some of the overall summary there with the challenge is sometimes the beauty of life on this material realm can be distracting from the ultimate aspect of the spiritual evolution, which is non-attachment. But then also but we talked about all the positives, and I feel that despite this subtle distraction from having Jupiter in Libra, of the distraction of the beauty of these things, that because Jupiter is your Atma Karaka, that's your spiritual evolution, your morals and ethics, and your dharma will always be prioritized, will always be the most important thing.
Thank you so much. Actually, does that matter that my natal Jupiter is in Vishaka Nakshatra, which is ruled by Jupiter?
Sure. That only suggests the ultimate expansion there through that nakshatra, through Jupiter, in terms of the greatest amount of spiritual evolution. And that is, if Jupiter had a low planetary strength, the fact that Jupiter's in its own nakshatra promotes its strength greatly.
I see.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, George.
Thank you so much.
So good to see you.
Good to see you. Namaste.
Namaste. Namashivaya. Okay, Rakesh, if he's here, I said we would look at his question, but I never heard back from him. So if he's not here, I'm going to move on to a celebrity example.
I think Rakesh is here.
Okay.
Yes. So I'll move.
Okay, let's bring him on.
Yes.
Take it easy, George.
Hi, Rakesh.
Rakesh, could you please unmute your mic?
That's not me. That seems to
Okay,
be
I've unmuted.
I can hear you now. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing good, but that's not my question. That seems to be the question by some other Rakesh.
Oh, okay.
Not actually. Okay. Not a problem, Rakesh.
Yeah.
Oh, this isn't your chart?
Yeah, it is not his chart.
Oh, I see. Is this Rakesh here?
No, there's only one Rakesh, and I already. promoted him to panelist. So I think the Rakesh is not here. Whose
Okay.
chart is
Okay, Rakesh, that we brought on just out of spontaneous. Before I get to the celebrity example, do you have a question, Rakesh, that you're here?
Yeah, I do have a question.
Yes.
I have Jupiter in 10th, which is the Aquarius sign.
Okay.
So I just wanted to know like how would the Jupiter behave. Like I have read in some text which says Jupiter wherever it is placed, it spoils that the house, the result of that house. So I just wanted to know whether it holds true or not.
Rakesh, what type of work do you do in your career?
Currently, I have resigned from my job. I was in IT sector.
Okay.
2 months back, I have resigned. I'm searching for a job.
Okay. So that's something that's very kind of emphasized about what's going on with the Jupiter and Aquarius. Okay. Were you here when we discussed the Jupiter and Aquarius karma?
Yes, I was.
And so how that would manifest there with Jupiter in the 10th house is, first of all, there's a strong nature of you, which is about the evolution of your consciousness. Okay. When that posits itself in the house of career, it means that your career has to be in alignment with you could say, the most advanced aspect of your consciousness. So one of the things that Saturn might do, because of the Jupiter and Aquarius, is if the job or career path is not in the ultimate alignment with your if the career path is not in alignment here. Now, what sign is the Jupiter in?
It is in Aquarius.
Yes, yeah. I mean nakshatra.
It is in yeah.
Is it in Satabisha nakshatra?
Give me a minute. I just forgot that. Let me just look one minute.
Do you know what degree it is?
Yeah, it is in Purvabhadra Nakshatra, and it's also Atma Karaka 20.40.
Okay. So basically this means that when the career is no longer in alignment with your consciousness, then you can no longer be working in that career. And your consciousness, because of Jupiter in Aquarius, it's constantly aligning to something that's collective on a greater whole, that is advanced. So what this kind of means is that eventually you will kind of find a path in your career, which, as your consciousness continues to grow, that the career is allowed to grow in the same way, and that the people that you are working with in your career also have a similar consciousness. So this is just something that, what current dasha are you in, brother?
I'm in Saturn Mahadasha and Rahu Antardasha.
Okay, so there you go. The Saturn Mahadasha is obviously going to be making this one of the periods in which the Saturn aspect of Jupiter and Aquarius is going to be emphasized, which means things are going to be slow moving to the ultimate process of your career right now. But you should know that eventually your career will be in complete alignment with who you are, what you believe, and how your consciousness operates. And so it's very important when you are getting, and because of Saturn, there will be some challenge, and because of Rahu, I'm sure there is some as well. But as you begin to get some insight into new job opportunities for you as well, some of the really important signs for the success of your career in those new opportunities is that your consciousness and the consciousness of your coworkers are similar. In other words, you can relate to your coworkers and your coworkers can relate to you. You think similarly about things. Your consciousness operates in a similar way. This is going to be something that is very auspicious for your career. And if you work with people who, let's say, are behind you in terms of your consciousness, in other words, their consciousness is not advanced, they're racist, they're bigotry, they're selfish people, then these people, they're not going to be essential to your life, and therefore you cannot really work with them. So one of the things that's a real good barometer for whether this will be a successful endeavor for your career is based on the consciousness of those that you work with.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Rakesh, one more question, and then I want to look at this celebrity example. In the past job that you left, how did you relate to your coworkers?
Those were really like a mean kind of people. I used to work a lot, and all the credit used to be taken by them. So that was the case.
And did you relate to them?
No, not really.
Okay, again, so the career wasn't meant to be.
Yeah, I know. I'm just thinking the same.
Yeah. But when you do start something new and you're really feeling like, wow, these people that I'm working with and the company that I work for and the president and the owner, I really like their model. I really like the way they do things. I really like the way they think about things. This is going to be a very auspicious opportunity. And eventually, because Jupiter in Aquarius, my friend, is incredibly innovative. So you have to give it some time for you to get into the inner workings of something, but then you're the one who brings innovation in it.
Oh, okay. That's good to hear.
Yeah, it's just going to move slowly as you begin. The most important thing is in the beginning is how you relate to your boss and your coworkers, and that they have a similar consciousness of you.
Okay. Thanks a lot. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, brother. Okay, so let's look at President Obama. I just want to, former President Obama. And I can't talk about politics, but I really like Obama. And so I'm using Obama example here. And as you can see, Obama is Capricorn Lagna. And he has two planets, Jupiter retrograde and Saturn retrograde, in the Lagna, 5 degrees of separation, okay? Now, Jupiter in Capricorn is debilitation. Okay, so you have debilitated Jupiter Lagna, but Jupiter is retrograde. And it says in the ancient text by Parashara, if you have a planet that is debilitated and that planet is retrograde, then it will act exalted. So what you have here in Obama's chart is an exalted Jupiter Lagna, which is really, really unusual. One of the things that I like to say about this Lagna is that this person is an extreme minority, because this kind of conjunction like this, I don't even know when the last time it would happen, but I imagine it's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years apart. Where it's this kind of double retrograde conjunction like that. And so one of the things I think that I like to say about this chart is that this soul came into this planet at a very specific special time for a very specific special purpose. And I like to think that was to be the first African-American president of the United States. Moving on, we look at the Saturn retrograde, which is in Capricorn. Therefore, Saturn has a lot of strength. So does Jupiter retrograde, because it's acting exalted. So the Jupiter and Saturn here is incredibly strong. Now, Jupiter and Saturn don't necessarily relate well to each other, but these planets have a very profound auspicious dignity, Jupiter acting exalted and Saturn in its own sign. So you're having this extremely unusual and strangely auspicious Lagna. And one of the things about the Dharma that is indicative of this Lagna that I like to mention with the Jupiter karma is when we went back into Jupiter debilitation, we talked about that one's spiritual evolution is essentially connected towards adversity. Okay, and Obama, being the first African-American of the United States, had to face so much adversity, civil adversity, people who told him that the idea of African-American president was impossible. But Obama persevered. He endured the challenges. he did everything he could do in order to become the best person that he could be, in order to overcome this adversity. And he faced this adversity. He had people telling him no, that he couldn't do it. He had people telling him that it was impossible, and there was hate. There was people threatening his life. How dare you have the audacity to think that you could be president of the United States? But Obama persevered, he endured, he pushed through this adversity. And on the other end, what was waiting him with this incredible lugna, that Saturn is a planet that delays and it challenges and it tests, but it does not deny. This acting Jupiter exalted, this Saturn Capricorn, on the other end of this adversity, when he overcome it, he was the first Black president of the United States of America. There is nothing that is more powerful than becoming the president of the United States. And also, well, there is, I mean, but it's one aspect of power. And then there's also Saturn, which is connected to politics, and Capricorn, which is connected to societies and politics. So this chart is very strongly connected to politics. And the Jupiter acting exalted is saying he's politically moral. He's politically ethical. He's politically, humanitarian and selfless. He gave health insurance to the entire country for free. After hundreds and hundreds of years of us having to pay insurance companies or go to jail. So Obama liberated us from this. This is a really powerful humanitarian politician who I think was destined to become the president that he did. And I like looking at this chart to just say, okay, Jupiter really, really helped this strange debilitation exaltation, really helped Obama become president of the United States, along with this Saturn conjunction. So Jupiter karma played an extremely important part in Obama's rise to leadership. Okay, so let's take a couple live questions. Let's take some live questions in the question and answer section. So please pose your questions in the question and answer section of the webinar. Now, to answer Dave, Jupiter and Mars in Sagittarius ascendant role. That's a really powerful conjunction. It shows someone who is both moral and ethical, and also someone who is action-oriented. So it's constantly about putting morals and ethics into action and being the best person that you can be. Now, when Mars is in Sagittarius in the Lugna, this is heavy Pitta vibration. And so one of the things that you have to worry about is issues of the Pitta dosha in the body, in terms of on your path for truth, on your path for righteousness. You might get too heated, too furious, too angry by the injustices, unfairnesses, and inequalities in the world. And this can really aggravate you. This could really irritate you. So you really have to keep the Pitta dosha in balance and understand that, yes, you are a spiritual warrior in your nature. But at the same time, you have to pick your battles wisely. Now, the second question, Jupiter-Saturn conjunction in Aries in 7th for a Libra ascendant. Okay, Dave Dot. So if there is a Jupiter-Saturn in Aries in the 7th, what you have is the debilitation of Saturn, but then Jupiter in a favorable position. Now, for the Libra ascendant, there's a connection to marriage, and by the Jupiter-Saturn conjunction in the 7th, this is emphasizing a lot of karmas in the relationship and a lot of karmas in the marriage. And so one of the things that's going to show up here from the Saturn vibration of the debilitation is that your partner is really meant to test you, to challenge you, to encourage you in order to test yourself, to be the best person you can be. And so this can be a challenging karma as it sits in the 7th house with the debilitated Saturn, because here is this partner, which is your soulmate, who is testing you constantly. So just know that there is an association of a test and a challenge from the partner, What is it great about this? They're helping you become more virtuous. This is how spiritual change is manifesting in you. But we don't always like to be humbled unless we're Shiva. Most of us human beings, when we get humbled, we cry and we get angry. So this is the vibration here too. Now with the Jupiter, there's a lot of growth through the partnership. There's a lot of learning from the partner, and the partner is learning from you. And so the way to encourage the most beneficial aspect of the relationship, this is a relationship which couples counseling would be very beneficial for. But also with the Jupiter vibration, to realize that the guru is the partner. And so there has to be this honoring of the spirit through each other and the guru in each other through the relationship. Okay, special implications of the 5th and 9th aspect of Jupiter. This is a great question when we're looking at aspects of Jupiter by the 5th and 9th aspect. Now, the 5th aspect of Jupiter, it usually emphasizes certain karmas as relates to the karma with the children and also the creativity. So when you're looking at the 5th aspect, you're looking at certain karmas as relates to the children. You're looking at certain karmas that relates to the creativity. But when it's but by the 9th aspect, it's more of the spiritual, the religious, the mystical implications. So as far as the karakas that are associated with Jupiter, the 5th aspect more associated with children, and the 9th aspect more of the spirituality, guru, and the religious vibration. Okay, Jupiter in Virgo for a Sagittarius Lagna, moon aspecting from Pisces. We talked about Jupiter in Virgo. Now for a Sagittarius ascendant, they relate well to Jupiter, but the Virgo can be challenging. And really all I want to say about this is we talked about how you have to keep in mind that there is a spiritual wisdom which comes from the celestial realms, which is the Paramatma. And Virgo has a very strong intellectual preoccupation. So sometimes there may be a temptation to favor the intellectual, but I encourage you to really favor the spiritual to improve the planetary karma with Jupiter here. Okay, so a few more questions. Dave. Okay, great. Okay, Jupiter and Pisces. Oh. Okay, since we're getting lots of questions now, I'm gonna answer questions for people who haven't asked question, and then we'll see if we can get to the other. Okay, Nikhil, exalted Jupiter K2 conjunction in the 3rd house. So that means Cancer. So you have an exalted Jupiter K2 conjunction in the 3rd house. Now, Jupiter K2 is a very significant conjunction. I've read interpretations by certain astrologers that says this is very favorable. Okay, why? Jupiter being the planet of spirituality and religious wisdom. And the exalted Jupiter K2 vibration, K2 being the planet of moksha karaka. So when you take the spiritual, religious, and mystical implications, combine them with the moksha, it can be incredibly productive for the spiritual evolution of the individual on their path to moksha. So in other words, there's a strong proponents by this that if you follow your devotional path, if you follow all of these guru karmas we talked about, aligning to your highest moral and ethical potential, aligning to your highest amount of spiritual and religious wisdom, this has a great propensity to really help lead you to the path of moksha, which is liberation. So there's a strong propensity in your chart for some experience of moksha or liberation, if you can continue to improve your planetary karma with Jupiter. Oh, and because it's in the 3rd house, obviously siblings, there's a strong karmic relationship with siblings. It could show that you have younger siblings that are very important to your karmic evolution, but K2 can sometimes take away siblings. So it's possible that you don't have any siblings, or that you're the youngest siblings, and there's karmas with both of those situations as well. Okay. Oleg, Jupiter and Saturn both retrograde in Hasta, Virgo Lagna. Can you comment on karma? Yes, the Jupiter and Saturn aspect can be very interesting. both retrograde, and we saw that in Obama's chart. So isn't it interesting you and Obama have something in common? That'd be pretty cool. So, but basically there's this vibration that Jupiter and Saturn are both retrograde in the Virgo Lagna, and how would that influence your karma? Well, Saturn as Kṣaṇāti, and Virgo is a very slow-moving planet. So when these planets are together, the life moves rather slowly. Now, the retrograde of Saturn might take away a certain amount of delays at certain times, but overall, there's going to be a heavy emphasis that things in the life move slowly. Now, with Virgo, we talked about this integration of the intellectual, rational with the spiritual wisdom. Because Jupiter and Saturn is there together, you have this lifetime, you have this knowledge or wisdom from your past lifetime. And Jupiter and Saturn are going to be working together slowly to help you embody this balance. So in a sense, Saturn will be testing you. You will get many situations in your life from Saturn that are saying, this is what logically makes sense, but this is what you know is right. This is what intellectually makes sense, but this is what you know your teachers and your gurus say. And you will be given situations. And this situation will cause your spiritual evolution every time you honor the Jupiter vibration over the Mercury Virgo vibration. But again, there's a strong buddhi by the Virgo Lagna. Those are some of the comments I'd like to share there. Okay, great. Now we're looking at Madhavi. Jupiter in 4th house in Taurus, only 4 degrees, but retrograde. Madhavi, I really like this because I have Jupiter in the 4th house in Taurus retrograde. So you and I have the exact same position of Jupiter, so I'm pretty much talking about my own karma as well. Now, when Jupiter is in the 4th house, the house of the home, and this is retrograde, and so the Jupiter in the 4th house brings the person to the home and very strongly connects them to the home. What does that mean? For the past 4 years, I work from the home. Also, I spend most of my time in the home. I do my writing in the home. I do my praying in the home. I do my cooking in the home. So Jupiter is like a temple. We mentioned that Jupiter is like a temple. So when Jupiter is in the 4th house, it is like the home is a temple. And that you recognize the spirituality and the divinity of the home and the self, because the 4th house is also the inner nature of the individual. And Parashara says that if Jupiter sits in the 4th house, it should give the individual a joyous disposition for their entire life. And so Jupiter in the 4th house is a very joyful disposition. I'm a very optimistic person, even though I'm ruled by Saturn. And but retrograde kind of shows that when it comes to your spiritual path, it's very closely connected to the home, and it's retrograde, which means it can be kind of rebellious. So when it comes to the spirituality and the path of the home, this can be kind of rebellious. So also by the Taurus vibration, the home can be kind of an escape, where the home is a place of beauty, the home is a place of pleasure because of Taurus, and the home is a place where you can escape a lot of the more challenging karmas. It's just like Jupiter is protective, but when it's retrograde, it can make the individual at sometimes kind of like a hermit, where they might want to stay at home for multiple days at a time. They don't really notice that they haven't gone out or anything. It is your elderly brother's chart. Very nice. Okay. So we looked at all of these questions. I'm just going to look in the chat real quick, see what's going on there. Let's see with the chat. Okay. Thank you. Okay. Oh, thank you so much. Okay. So Jupiter in 1st house, Gemini ascendant, but in Navamsha Capricorn in 4th. So first looking at Jupiter, Gemini ascendant in the Lagna, Jupiter is really going to provide a lot of protection to the Gemini vibration. So it's not as inauspicious because it's in your Lagna. And when Jupiter is in the Lagna, no matter how difficult some other aspect of your chart, Jupiter acts like protector of entire chart. So here, as we look at Jupiter in the 1st house, Gemini All of these aspects of your moral and ethical potential are true. And there's going to be a diversity to your wisdom. And this is your personality because it's your lagna. So there's going to be a real diversity to your knowledge, a real diversity to your wisdom. And you might find yourself interested in different religions, different spiritual sciences, yoga, Ayurveda, Vastu, Jyotish. You might find yourself kind of interested in a little bit of this and a little bit of that as far as the different passive wisdom out there. Okay, great. Let's see. So I think that's shall conclude our webinar today. It's been such a pleasure to dive into how to improve our planetary karma with Guru Deva, Brihaspati, Jupiter with all of you. We went into detail about the nature of Jupiter's karma, how it manifests in a current transit, how it manifests in the varying signs and planetary dignities. And then we went into detail about how to improve the planetary karma with Jupiter, both from an ancient perspective, a lifestyle perspective, and an Ayurvedic perspective. And then we had some nice examples about how to look at Jupiter karma and how to analyze it, and some wonderful questions from some very intelligent and wonderful guests. I just want to thank everyone who joined us today. I want to thank you, Madhuraji. I want to thank you to all of the guests who joined us, all of you who attended the webinar, all of you at home who are watching this webinar for the first time. I'd like to give a special thanks to the entire team at Saptarishis Astrology, particularly Sunil John for his vision for this incredible organization, Saptarishis Astrology, which continues to bring this Ayurvedic, this ancient Vedic science of Jyotish and make it accessible to individuals from all over the world. So special thanks to Sunil John and everyone who made this possible. I am so deeply and profoundly honored. Thank you.
Thank you from all. It was a really wonderful webinar, as all completely different and completely great learning experience, and really appreciated whatever effort. So much once again. Thank you.
Om Namah Shivaya. Thank you.
Thank you. Everybody.